a world where space and time are intertwined, one man dared to challenge the status quo. His name? Dayton Miller. His weapon of choice, a flute. But not just any flute. This instrument held the power to unleash the ether, a pervasive medium once thought to fill the universe. Miller, a physicist by trade, a musician at heart, discovered a harmonic resonance within the ether. He found that his flute, when played with precision, could manipulate this elusive medium. His melodies, a symphony of science, had the potential to shift the very fabric of reality. However, a sinister force lurked in the shadows. The Einsteinian demons. These creatures thrived in the distortion of space-time, causing chaos and disruption. The world needed a hero, and Miller was ready to answer the call. With his flute in hand, Miller played a tune that echoed through the cosmos. Each note, a shot of pure ether, struck the Einsteinian demons, dispelling them back into the void. The world was saved, not by a warrior, but by a musician, a scientist, a man with a flute. Remember, in this universe of wonder and mystery, sometimes the most unlikely heroes make the biggest impact. Keep your mind open, your heart brave, and who knows, you might...
All right, Shane, we're live. Sorry for the delay.
Boom. Can you hear my super fan?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds awesome.
Great.
The harmonic resonance of Shane's air conditioner.
Yeah, I tried to care. Like, I tried to gather myself and like, oof. And then I failed. I failed to try to care. So I'm sorry, everyone. It's like I turned it off for 1 second and then one drop of sweat came down. And I was like,
Made the right choice.
Right. Well, then I can bring my stream over then. Let's see. What am I doing? Ether cause Twitter. Right. Ether cause Twitter, no phone. And we're good. Is this live? Yes, we're live. Oh, there we go. Now, yeah, now we're live. Well, that's not going to work. All right. That'll be fine. What's up, Luke? I love Luke's picture. I always think I'm talking to the Prime Minister of, who was that? The EU or something? Dude has his picture as the masked up Prime Minister.
Oh, dude. Did they all do it in every country, pretend to take it?
Yep.
Oh, that's how you know every country's independent and they're not all in on it.
Yeah, that man there, his name is ScoMo.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Local federal pedophile.
Right. Well, as you'd have to be a PM, I think. It's like a prerequisite.
Do they not let you win the election if you're not that, or what?
They don't even let you partake in the election unless you're that, I think.
Damn, you can't even run? That sucks.
So we won't have any Toby today. Toby's doing real life stuff, like a nerd.
Yep. Toby's out IRLing.
That's a bad habit.
Yeah, he got called into the brushtail factory. There was a incident.
Oh, well, you know, work calls. You got.
Yeah, let's just say we had to reset the counter. No penguin beaks in the coffee amount of days. We had to reset that.
Them's the breaks.
We did make it a solid 3 days for our marketing campaign, but then we went straight back to those delicious baby beaks.
We had to reset the counter again.
Again.
Have you seen the movie The Corporation? 3-hour documentary.
It sounds amazing, though.
Oh, utter truth. It is an amazing thing to behold. I thoroughly recommend The Corporation.
All right, watch party after the tour of space tonight.
I don't know, man.
Where can
hours.
we find this documentary, Stone?
I'm not sure. I think
on Discord in 20 minutes.
I just punch up the torrents, but yeah, Alan will zap it down, I'm sure. It is.
Thank you.
It is a remarkable little analysis of the corporation in terms of comparison in personality to the traits exhibited by a typical psychopath. And so they check all the boxes, so to speak. They take you right down the road to analyze what that kind of corporate legal person has amounted to over the past nearly a century, since they made that fatal mistake at Congress. And yeah, enough said. Want to spoil too much of it.
Spoilers, now I know America's youth gets subverted.
Oh, there we go. I could hear my phone talking to me. I was like, where's the echo? Oh, my phone's on and in. Yay. All right, we're good. Unless you're hearing me twice still? No? No.
Nope, you're solid.
Yeah, you're good to go.
You can only start it on the phone, but we still got Jude out of a purple pill. Oh, we're getting canceled. I said the wrong thing. Sorry, Nick Cage. You warned us, dude.
So, are you guys holding down a Discord too, man? Because I feel like I'm like in a Twilight Zone.
So right before we went live, Paul wanted to come through and show us a little something, a little argument he's been putting together. But, you know, we were about to go.
Was there?
Yeah.
It became an argument, and we just tapped out to come do this.
Yeah, so I'm sure they'll sort it out at the. We'll check back in at the halftime to see if it's flat or if it's a globe or not. We'll see where the boys are at, and then we'll update you guys.
We got plain reality in here arguing with this one guy, and it's like I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, you can clearly see the horizon's higher.
Dude,
that one guy being Ruhif.
Yeah,
call it a digression.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what are you arguing, man? You can clearly see the horizon's above the freaking boat in the front.
Like how you're trying to do arguments at once.
It's like,
should we kill it and take Ruhif away from there and bring him in here?
Why would we do that to the community?
Yeah, well, I kind of feel like this worked out well. It's like, oh, you both can entertain each other, and we'll go do the thing that we had.
Dude, Paul jumped on the grenade for us. Shout out to our boy, peace be upon him.
Well, to be fair, he came over to our house, like sat in our living room, and then both you and I left the living room, and an asshole walked in and sat down next to him and started grilling him about shit he doesn't care about. Imagine if that was you. You're like, hey, guys, what the fuck is happening to me?
As long as they don't get stains on the furniture, we're good.
Janitor's in there. He'll make sure the boys keep it under control.
Yeah, Nudist has got it.
I've been keeping him busy a little bit. It's been a delight.
I've seen that. There's been a certain physicist making the rounds, helping right the wrongs, I guess.
I do like Notice Bear. I admire his like super eagerness. What do you call that?
Zealotry.
A joyful youth.
Yeah, I like Alan's version better.
He's a spry young gentleman, right? Spry is the right word, right?
We got Shinku. Shinku can come speak.
Yeah, worry not. I'm keeping those housies under wraps.
Yeah, I get that feeling from the ether. It's telling me that you're doing well. The induction rate of the perturbers that you have initiated has reached me, and now I'm able to backwards derive the induction rate to tell you that. Yeah, you're right. What's up, Shinku?
Yo, what's up, guys?
Yo, what's up?
What up?
So did you see that B video, man?
I did.
That's pretty wild.
Something was oscillating. Is it the ether? I don't know. Some would say it's just the air, but I don't know. Never seen the air and ether in the same room together.
It's weird.
I didn't expect Lord Lodge to comment on it. I didn't even see it for a whole hour, and he's over there just talking shit. He's like, "This is what you guys say when you mention the ether. This is so stupid." I was like, "Brother,
this kid's trying to harvest attention, dude. After trying to reclaim his glory from Witsit. Dude, it's so crazy watching the psychology of other men go through it. And I've only seen one man recover from it. Shout out to Van de Graaff. He's the only one to overcome an interaction with Witsit. To genuinely, he internalized it. He was like, yo, you make a lot of good points, but then I disagree with you, obviously philosophically. And that was really eating me up, and it was leading me to just, be irrational around you. And I apologize for that. And then, wow. and then he became like, just, I mean, he didn't become, he was already pretty cool, and then it was just completely cool after that. And it was a great night and everyone had a good time. And it's like, he's the only one that's ever had a debate with Witsit, didn't go well, and then got over it successfully. Yeah. And it didn't make it his identity. He's just a regular lad.
Like, just hanging out, being dude. A globy chill dude. Wow. Yep. Dude, that's a rare animal.
It's tough, dude. Imagine, though, right, that there was a Globe Defender debater who wasn't right or anything. He definitely was wrong, but he was so good at defending the Globe that we all had meetings and talked about him and could never debate him, and we're terrified of him, and we just had like a sort of... Imagine if that was the case, and we were like, so guys, we're still right? Even though he's, debated us and smashed us all and keeps making points and there's lots of go here. And it worked solid, but like, if that was the case, it was reversed. Like, how many of us would still be here? We'd be like, I'm out, dude. I have no interest in continuing this facade. It's like, it's not that he's right. He's just really good at debating. I'll give him that. It doesn't mean that he makes like good points. Oh wait, no, that does. I guess in a battle of points, if you win the point battle, I guess that does mean you made good points. So but I don't agree with that.
So like if you had a board and you divided it in half and put two teams' names on it and then like kept score, like one team would have like way more points than the other team.
Well, you remember when Sartain, he's been quoted about that. Several robot polisher videos and others where he just said, oh no, man, these flat earthers, it's not like they have the answers to something. It's just not that they're right or anything. It's just that they're really good at debating. So they sound really convincing, and they're totally full of shit, of course. But boy, they sound like they got it together.
That's it. But then, like, my counterpoint has always been: imagine the level of intellect I'd have to both pretend to not be as smart as I am, but also have the knowledge to outsmart people who are dumber, to project a level of intellect beyond my current capabilities. It's like, dude, how does the math for that shit work? What are you talking about?
60 chess.
A lifetime of second guessing.
It's like, I'm dumb, but I'm really good at pretending not to be dumb by emulating smart things. But like, smart people can't tell that I'm not smart. It appears to smart people that I am smart, but you on the internet, you Glober, know that I'm not in fact smart.
Dude, they see right through the illusion.
That's what it is. Grifter, nailed it.
When I was in high school, I didn't want to be a statistic. I didn't want to be way over to the right on the old bell graph there, man. There's not a lot of people over there. It's no fun. So I actually trusted the mainstream when they said, this is your brain on drugs.
Shinku, my emojis are not working, but I send you a heart back. Sorry.
I don't think she can hear me either.
Can you not hear so, Liliana?
Oh no. Hey, Laylee. Hey,
wait, can you guys hear me?
I can.
We can hear you. The other question is reciprocal.
We need to have Liliana drop or come back.
Yeah, the sound is bad. Okay, maybe I'll try. I'll come back.
Maybe.
Yeah, back. You know, I just want to say all these technical difficulties that we have here on X with our communication only proves that we totally made a phone call to the moon in 1969.
Yeah, the lack of the delay and the strength of the signal there really does.
That is
limit
true.
it.
We did make a phone call to the moon in 1969. Richard Nixon did speak to those astronauts.
Zero lag. Amazing analog
It's
technology.
sir, it's the moon.
Oh, you there right now? I took on a golf swing. Now watch this drive.
I have a wrench to throw into that. I've never interacted with Lord Lodge other than today because he blocked me on my first account. But he told me that the Earth is contained by gravity, so I don't think gravity would allow a phone call, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I told him how if he invokes gravity, he's invoking barometric pressure, which it's gravity, guys. I'm sorry.
But it's a telephone signal. It's got to be able to. It's
The gravity. It's gravity. Gravity does it all.
It's got the special power to get through it. It's a telephone call, and it was from landline, so it was like, grounded.
I heard Nikola Tesla was making a phone that could call gravity, and that's why they killed him and took all his stuff.
Sons of bitches.
And you know the footage from when they were playing golf on the moon. They were so rough, like he was falling all over the place. I mean, they couldn't even get their story straight. Like imagine having that fairly fragile astronaut suit and then just like kind of like falling all over these rocks on the moon.
With all those weak spots in there, and the fact that if you breach one, you'll die in like 10 seconds. Yeah, you don't believe that, Lily? Come on.
And I mean, are zippers really airtight,
Only in space. Lily, you got to understand, this is a $20 gazillion zipper.
I mean,
can you put a price tag on a man's safety in a vacuum?
Yeah, have you ever tested a space zipper yourself? You don't.
Come on, Lily. Like it needed to be made of diamonds to get through the belt, but it wasn't. But it still got through. But this is a high tech zipper. High tech zipper.
It was actually made by Gucci.
Darn, my emojis are not working. Darn.
What's bugging me about that is, this guy hits a ball with a 9-iron, and that thing just came back down to the moon. That thing should be orbiting out there or something.
You know what's tight is that golf balls have a melting point at the time that moon landing happened. There was like 2 companies that produced golf balls, I think, or 3. And anyway, the melting point of them was like 300 something degrees Fahrenheit. You'll never believe what the surface temperature of the moon is for a material object.
Dude, what is it, man? It's high.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's over the melting point of a golf ball.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss, Alan. Nice delivery.
You know what it is? Well, I don't fucking know, but it's something, all right? I'll tell you that.
They said it is. Have you guys?
No, you could look it up, though. It is higher than a golf ball. It's over 350. So.
Do you know? Have you guys seen Fly Me to the Moon?
No.
Never heard of it?
Yeah. You haven't heard of it?
Never heard of it.
Talking about that new movie with Scarlett Johansson and what's the guy from Magic Mike? Can't think of his name. Taylor. No. Anyway. Ashton Kutcher?
Tatum?
Yeah, that's the guy.
Oh. Calls everyone Ashton Kutcher. I get it.
But they said that they threw out the ridiculous temperatures out there too. They went from the freezing to the hot. Man, it was when they brought in the extra 15-pound camera that they found some way to put on the spaceship there that they had to calculate all the fuel. They had to ditch 15 pounds somewhere, man, to add the camera on there. What'd they get rid of? It sure wasn't the 9-iron and golf clubs.
I mean, dude, hitting the ball off to have it go into space is kind of funny. It's like, well, at a third the gravitational potential.
I was arguing with somebody about how film can't survive the airport X-ray.
But I don't think he can hear Shane.
Nope.
Oh, should we connect?
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally went to the moon and made phone calls, people. This is proof right here.
Did Liliana come back up, and can she hear me now?
Can you hear Shane Lilly?
I can hear you, Shane. I can hear you, Nicolas Cage. Yes.
All right, successful
Excellent.
now.
Technology.
Yeah, it's the good old. Okay, unplug it. Plug it back in. Does it work now? All right.
Well, you know, the fact that the phone works is proof that we're on a globe, okay? Science.
Science.
Yeah. Do you see that? Can you ever looked up in the sky? Yeah, that's a globe sky. You live on a globe, dummy.
Satellites don't work on a flat Earth, bro.
It couldn't possibly because I'm retarded. Because I don't understand it. You're wrong.
So if you got a satellite and it's cruising around the Earth there at 17,500 miles and, in some circular, ridiculous pattern, and, General calls up and says, yo, bro, man, I need some satellite images over Afghanistan. So how does it get out of that 17,000 miles? Do they just kind of, just go around and take pictures and, oh, shit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that 17,000 mile an hour satellite sends a signal to where an airport, and then an airplane takes off, and it flies above the Earth, and then it takes the picture. I mean, that's how that works.
Man, you ever see them do that on the movies and stuff? They'd be like, shh, and it just goes over there and starts taking pictures and stuff. Man, total bullshit.
Cage, have you seen Alan's new presentation?
Alan's new presentation?
Yeah.
I have not. When did you do it?
Tuesday? It was on satellites. Yeah. So I put a clip up in the jumbo here, which is 11 minutes of ECEI, ECEF, coordinate system, SAGNAT, variant speed of light. And it's pretty much the whole crux of the argument outlined pretty succinctly from our boy.
Was this the SAGNAT conversation?
Sort of.
Yeah, I was in there, and honestly, that was kind of like the first time I heard a lot of that. So I was like, whoa, that was a lot to absorb.
Yeah, that's fair. It is a lot. It's like, how do I explain to a relativist and a glober how retarded the things that you rely on when you don't know the fundamentals of the retardation that you're currently upholding?
It was 2 solid hours, man. Hey, Alan, I just posted on Discord to the main chat an article from my couple thoughts about plasma video, which quote the temperature range of the surface of the sun.
Surface of the sun, surface of the moon?
Yeah. Of the moon, rather. Sorry. Yes, because it's the moon being supposedly heated and cooled by the sun and lack thereof it when it spins around the earth once a month. And they claim minus 170 C all the way up to 120 C. So that's a 300 degrees C range, whether you're in the sun or not.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah, space.
Can we get Nudist Bear back up again? Nudist Bear. Oh, I got it. I said it right.
But don't you need an atmosphere to heat the sun up? Because you know how if you go up at super high altitude and the atmosphere is thinner, so the sunlight is not as hot as when you're at sea level. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something.
Well, the lights is hot, but there's less around you to conduct it away from you if you're hotter than the surrounding ambient, if you know what I mean. That you have to purely radiate your own heat. You cannot, like, when a wind hits you in the face, that it can take some of the heat off of your face. That if there's no wind, you will have to only be able to radiate the heat away from your face just by being hot. You know what I mean? There's kind of a difference there as you go up.
Oh, so basically they're saying that the moon is capable of getting hot.
And really cold.
So I actually argued with someone about this. I was making the case that film can't go through like airport x-rays. This was a big deal in the 50s and 60s. And I asked them, how could film work in space? And they said that because there's no atmosphere on the moon, there's no molecules to heat up the stuff around, the cameras.
Ooh, incorrect. So no, it's a huge deal. And so radiation would go right through that. Like that's not even an issue for that. So there's a specific type of spotting that that radiation would make on that film. and it's not present in a single picture. What do you think that means? There's I'll link it later. Well, I linked it before, but I'll retweet it here in a minute. But it's the American Moon, and they bring in, I got the timestamps for it too, but they bring in these photographer experts from, different aspects of photography, and they have them analyze the pictures, and yeah, they're like, yeah, there's no way that this is real. And they go over the radiation stuff, and yeah, there's specific, like it would look a specific way, and what they show us had no radiation. It wasn't near no radiation at all.
And that's after you get through those pesky old Van Allen belts.
Oh, you mean those radiation belts? Yeah, that would just destroy all your film and you. That are simultaneously the most deadly thing ever that nobody can get through, but also simultaneously the most not deadly thing that anyone could get through.
Cooking up a big space burrito.
With that one big old giant 36,000 mile wide weak spot it's got.
Turn into a space-bound ether hot pocket.
So in that same American Moon documentary, they actually go over the Van Allen radiation belt narrative too. So what they end up saying is like, oh boys, what actually happened is we took a different route and we went straight through like this like low energy point in the belt. And then when you look at the route that they actually took, that they didn't even do that. Like it's literally the whole thing. It's always been a lie. So yeah, I'll pull that up.
That's not the all-in-one moon landing debunked documentary, is it?
Yes.
Oh,
it is already an excellent movie.
It's already in the space, and let's see if we can't push it to 200,000.
Perfect. Do you have the timestamps as well in there?
Of course.
They're claiming
Nice.
A weak spot, man, and these things are ranging in temperatures from 2,000 Kelvin to 20,000 Kelvin, or 20 Kelvin.
They probably found a gravity pocket where they weren't affected by it.
It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, when I can't prove it, I can invent gravity pockets and place them wherever I need. It turns out, and no one can double check shit.
Ooh, speaking of gravity pockets placed specifically to deflect verticals wherever one pleases, we do have we do have this wonderful piece of technology that's so sensitive that it would detect that general relativity has to be accounted for in it, guys, allegedly, and such gravitational anomalies would require deflecting one's vertical would manifest in this technology. Does anyone want to guess what that technology is called? It starts with a GPS. Global position. Satellite in the. Anyway, so what this means basically is that if the gravitational potential is the way that they say it is described, right around the Earth, where they went around and took measurements on the ground and they didn't align with the stars, and they said, oh, well, you know what? We're not wrong. The fucking ground's wrong. So we're going to tilt our device because the gravity potential is obviously is pulling our plumb bob off level, and it's making us think we're level, but we're really not. So let me just go ahead and tilt that and bring that star into alignment, and we're good to go. So they're saying that that's like strong enough for that to happen. So there should be latitude dependent corrections in GPS. And they don't have any of those in GPS. None. So in other words, they're saying that it's just an equipotential gradient and it's good to go. Oh. Man. So because there's no latitude dependent corrections in GPS, boys, there's no justification for a man on the ground with a theodolite to tip his device because he assumes that the gravitational potential is making his plumb bob deviate from the true center of the Earth ball that he believes in.
Long after the shells and the globe is all gone.
Of course, you knew true level light didn't exist. Come on now. Why do you think Morty was like busting whenever true level was finally introduced?
One of the best episodes ever. I think Stone actually did. There was a couple episodes where Rick and Morty both had laryngitis and they had Stone fill in, and nobody even knows because he's so good at it that it was like seamless.
Yeah, and some of them South Park movies, he was actually Cartman the whole time, and you have no idea.
Bill Hader died a long time ago, and this is Man of Hader Stone.
These guys are hella gay.
The multi-talented stone.
Yeah,
I gotta give me some more cred.
dude. It turns out, like, as a group of people, if we were like lining up a line and taking a score on, like, creativity, intellect, like composition, social items, like cues, being able to follow pattern recognition, it's like, oh, one side would have a lot of points and one side wouldn't have many. And I'm not gonna say which side is which. It's like all the Globers hate each other. They don't want to hang out. They all come to hang out with us. Not because we're obviously wrong and terrible people, but they hate each other so much worse that they come hang out with us anyway. That's the current story.
I think there's another way we can disarm them, guys. We have to find a way to compliment them about something as a group. It doesn't even have to be true. Like, we could all just say, hey, actually, we really respect you, Globies, because you're all so good at parallel fucking parking.
Yeah, you can't.
You're all full of shit on the other stuff, but with the parking thing, you guys are just nailing it. And we hands up. Don't shoot.
And you guys can walk down the sidewalk without wandering into traffic, man. You guys are doing all right.
Boy, you
Shane, is that
guys
good?
sure can walk and chew bubble gum with the best. I'm just kidding.
I sent you a DM, Shane. Is that good? Just post that.
Post that. Yeah, dude. Go ahead.
You guys have the most enchanting taste when it comes to salad dressing, I must say.
When you said compliment them, I'm like, as a group, there isn't actually anything complimentary that you can say. Individually, though, you could like find something. Like if you're talking to a Glober, you can compliment that Glober for something that they're not retarded at, right? And then go with that.
I like that they're all super into spheres.
Yeah, see, there's nothing that you can say to the Globers that applies to them all that is actually complimentary in any way.
Are they into spheres or are they into pairs or oblique spheroids?
Oh, no. Deviations from the celestial?
True, no.
No.
It's okay. Just lay it out for them. Let's see if they eat it. I don't know.
They don't even know what they're into.
They can breathe without consciously focusing on it. I mean, I think that's pretty good, right? They don't have to think about breathing.
How do you know they're not thinking about it all the time, though?
Yeah.
You think that's air you're breathing? I think about it all the time.
It's like the only way that
That's
the way
ether
they
you're breathing,
exist
son.
is because he hasn't forgotten to breathe. The second that he forgets about it, he's dead, bro.
Like he goes into, you like steel man my position, and like they can't because if they stop thinking about breathing, they'll die. They're like sharks.
Yeah. That's what happened with FTFE and Witsit. True story, right? Like he was trying to think too hard. And
Oh, dude, he thought about relativity and ripped.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of see it. Yeah, it makes sense. Checks out.
What's up, Mister? Do we have hands up? I forget hands. What's up, Flat
Oh
Labs?
yeah. Flat Labs had his hand up.
Sorry,
And
man. You guys are so
then-
polite. We just ignore you.
Both you and Shinko are as listeners to me, man. So, sorry.
Real quick, if everybody can hear me, I have a question. I have a question for the smoothest voice on X, aka Stone. So I just acquired a new geek toy, a thermal imaging camera. So I've done the moon test where you on a full moon you test the difference in temperature in the moon shade and moonlight. Do you know if there's anything I can do and how I would proxy a test with a thermal imaging camera, viewing or observing the moonlight and moon shade with a thermal camera?
Yeah, man. What do you know about the experiment that I did?
I honestly I did my own. I know it's true. I have not watched yours. I guess I need
Frankly,
to watch
from a
yours.
scientific perspective, it's better that you hadn't seen it yet. You did it your way, objectively as you saw it, and that's fine. I'd like to see your data. That'd be fine. You're not the guy with the Play-Doh blobs in the kegs, are you? On the plywood out on his deck where he's got them.
No. I did mine.
God.
I shaded an area, and I shaded it after the moonlight was there. I shaded it before the moonlight was there. So yeah, I got a 4-degree difference in moon shade and moonlight.
So bug over to my very own channel. Are you on Telegram?
I am.
Excellent. So yeah, the link for that is posted somewhere in my last half a dozen tweets here. Or if you're in the Miswits channel in the general tab, just search for my very own channel, the actual text, and that should pop right up with the invite link, which you're going to need in order to get in there. Because it's not actually a public room, but I publicly post the invite link, if you know what I mean.
Oh, is that what you
And-
did? I always wondered why I had to do a roundabout way to get your link to share it. That's some gangster stuff.
It's
right
sly.
there.
Yes. Right.
Very nice.
Okay. So, yeah, get in there and scroll way up because it's been a couple of years. I think October 2021 or something like that, 2022. Yeah, you'll see all the data in a spreadsheet, and it's all very, very lined up for you to check out. And I detail a fair bit of the process, and I recommend you attempt to duplicate it if you can get your hands on some roughly 2 millimeter thick steel. And you can just buy it. I cut up like 3.5 inch square tubing. They can buy actually I buy it in a 6 meter here, but I bet you can get it in a 3 meter Home Depot, that kind of thing. And you just physically take your cutting wheel to it, cut it into pieces, throw it on top of double-sided foam, put that on top of an MDF piece, and selectively shade, and use your camera on that. Check out, it's all there, so you can plot it out and figure out how to do it your way based on what you see I doing. That's what I would recommend. And frankly, hit me up on Telegram, and we can increase the depth of the way that you might attack it, since I've already done it this particular way. We might improve it on it a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about. If there's anything different I can do with a thermal imaging opposed to the regular thermocouple or thermistor or thermometer.
Well, it's going to come down to the materials that you use and the number of colors of it that you use. I think that's going to be helpful in terms of what the camera might do for you. I don't know.
Yeah, I have access to aluminum, steel, titanium, like all the metals.
Well, we don't need to use unobtainium. We want something that's replicable too, right? Everybody else can do
I'm
what
not
they do.
Wolverine. Well,
All right, we have a guest coming. Ben D. Space should be joining us any
Do
minute.
tell.
Yeah, right. There's no way he's coming, dude. That was a nice effort, though. I like the hook and sinker you put out there. Like, come on, Ben. It's just... He's like, I'll come when there's one published paper from academia on ether cosmology. And I was like, hold my beer, Ben. Hold on 1 second. Give me 2 seconds. Here's 30. You want to come talk to us yet? Okay, here's 23 more. Oh, there's some file links. Here's a Dropbox. Here's some EtherCos file share. Oh, there's some PDFs themselves. Oh, another works cited. A concatenated 22 list. Are we going yet? Are you coming, Ben?
Have your attention yet?
It's like, all right, you may now go back to pretending that none of this exists and that I didn't present you with an itemized list of 45 papers that works cited that literally and specifically support the case that we just made. Go ahead. Presume head in the sand. You may continue.
Are you not entertained?
And the very next statement, flat earthers never bring any evidence. It's like, you're a fucking idiot. I can't take it.
And just
Yo,
on a
I'll be
side
right back.
note,
I'm going to scoop Paul up from Discord.
Yeah, bring him back. Bring him back.
on a side note, I will say it's a pleasure to hear Liliana's voice of no nonsense.
Yo, Paul, we're live on Twitter whenever you want to come through, bro.
Okay, all good, man. No worries. You guys are over there now?
Yep.
All right, man.
All right, he'll be coming through in a bit.
There she is.
There we go. Mics for everybody.
Mics all around. Yo,
mic.
there's
And
Indio.
You get a mic. And you get a mic.
Yo, if you guys haven't seen that clip I put out earlier from Indio breaking down geodetic surveying, deflection of the vertes, the geoid, where it comes from, how distances work. It's a fantastic 4 minutes. You won't regret it.
Yep, sure is.
Did you tweet that?
Is Indio's thing on your
Yep.
on your feed on your account?
Yep, I'm about to put it in the Twitter space where Shane is. I think.
Yeah. The proper the proper order of events would be to post something and then speak about
Then
it.
announce it. Oh, no shit.
I appreciate the compliment because I thought I screwed it up. I kind of did because I forgot to include the coordinate system because that's a major component of it.
No, yeah, it is, but you definitely had the whole
It's
set.
one of those things. Well, they're always like, well, how come Polaris matches your latitude? Well, because we defined it that way. Like, duh. Like,
Definitionally, yeah. That's pretty funny. Or they're like, it has nothing to do with the stars. And I'm like, okay, what's latitude? Well, it's literally equal to the inclination of the star. And it's like, bada bing. All right, off to a good start. So how is it?
well, I'll just ask them. I'm like, if I black out the sky, how do you find your latitude? If it has nothing to do with the sky, how do you find it?
That's a good way to do it.
Ooh, I can answer that.
I had someone say
Oh, man.
Foucault's pendulum.
I imagine navigating with a Foucault's pendulum. Crazy.
I guess that is the only Glober answer, though, right? Like, ooh, I don't need the sky, buddy. I got a Foucault's pendulum and a motor and an electric dynamo, and this thing will run and process at my latitude wherever I am.
Well, it would also be the flat Earth ether answer as well, then.
Yeah, we have some math that would describe the translation of motion from an ether wind that would do that.
Ooh.
Right,
Speaking
can I,
of
say
math
something
and
for 1 second?
translations of
also-
motion, do you guys
we
like
also won't know-
Coriolis?
Is that your pickup line for the night out? Hey, baby.
Anyone want to centrifugally accelerate with me?
Can I just ask Indio one thing and then duck?
Sure, but as long as he gets to reply, I guess.
There's actually a 2-thing minimum, so.
All right, okay. So Alan posted something this morning about deflection of the vertical, and it's a clip of you saying that there's 0.7 degrees deflection in Australia. I would like a citation.
Yeah, that might be.
please.
Listen, that was probably a mistake. 'Cause I think it's 0.72 minutes. It's not degrees.
Okay. Cool. Solved.
So that's the largest one I've seen. I might have seen one. I've read a lot of stuff on it. That guy, Featherstone, has published a lot about this deflection of the vertical thing. So I guess it's a large problem in Australia for whatever reason. They're more concerned about it in Australia than say North America or Europe or whatever. It just seems to be they're obsessed with it in Australia because whenever I look up for publications on it, it's always some Australian guy. It's never like anything in North America or Europe. But the point is that the data that they publish, there's some in Africa too. I've looked at a lot, and I'm just from memory, the largest I've seen is 0.72 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's from
All good.
memory. I could be wrong. It could be more. It could be less.
No, all good.
A
Question
lot of
answered.
shit
Thank you.
I'm doing from memory. It isn't going to be 100% accurate. It'll be in the range. I mean, there is a big difference between 0.72 degrees and 0.72 minutes.
Huge difference.
Maybe if you use decimals.
So what?
60 times difference.
Yeah. What? So what was the magnitude of it then? It was in the minutes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, like
Yeah.
60
Yeah.
minutes.
Word, I'll make an amendment in a
Thanks,
bit.
Shane.
2Y.
All right, that's all I wanted. Cool.
You have
Yeah,
Rio
I mean-
sweating over there, Indio. He was like, "What the ruck?"
Yeah, so the real point is that it actually undulates all over the place. And if you go back, and I think I've heard Whitsitt, because I told Whitsitt about this. If you look so the grandfather of geodetic surveying is a guy called Frederick Helmer. And if you read, it's called Mathematical Theory, Higher Mathematical Theories of Geodesy or something like that. And if you read in the beginning, it says the vertical plumb line is random. It randomly oscillates all over the place. Basically, it's not a reliable measure, right? It isn't like, this is why the what do they call it? Reciprocal zenith angles, right? The tilting of the reciprocal zenith angles. When they actually do that, right? When they actually are taking data, they throw away outliers because they're using like weighted means, right? So any outlier measurement will get chucked out. You know what I'm saying? So if they measure like a negative tilt when they think there's just going to be a positive tilt, they just throw that number out.
Yep.
They sure do.
And that's the other funny thing is I heard him say, "Well, you'll always measure it." Like, okay, so what about? No, they say they'll always measure a positive deflection of the vertical, and I'm like, okay, what about NASA's potato Earth? It literally shows divots in the gravity field. Like, you would have negative deflections of the verticals there because you're not measuring the surface of the Earth, you're measuring the direction of gravity, and they can't it doesn't compute in their head, right? You're measuring the direction of gravity and the topology in relation to the direction of gravity. That's what you're actually doing in reality. Okay, but in their head, they're doing something else, right? I'm measuring the Earth.
Yep. But like, dude, they throw out measurements all the time. It's like that thing. It's like, dude, 9 out of 10 doctors agree. Well, what happened to the other guy? Well, we killed him. Well, okay. It's like, so all the measurements prove the Earth because all the ones that didn't, we threw the fuck out. Okay, well, that's a pretty good method you guys got there. It's like, so that's the whole thing then, right? Yep. So if it doesn't comport to 8 inches per mile squared, we throw it out. And it's like, well, that explains a lot.
Have you guys ever heard of the GNOME test? The little Kern precision scale company. They did back in 2011. They did a
yes.
What do you call it? Like an advertising campaign. You heard of this? The GNOME.
Yeah, they weighed the little gnome at different places.
Yeah. So they sent the same gnome in scale to all different places all over the world. And if you graph that, like the graph is all over the place. It's completely freaking random.
I agree. So, I emailed them. I emailed Albert Sauter from Kern Sohn and said, "Why are your results all over the place?" And he goes, "Thanks for your email. Sorry, we didn't do any deeper analysis."
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Shouldn't the deviation in that little g comported with weight and prescribed under little a, shouldn't that match the geoequipotential gradient all over the fucking Earth? Okay.
And it does if you do it properly. So Critical Think did it properly.
Absolutely does.
How do you know when you do it properly? How do you know when you do it properly?
Well, I went through these results and it looked like I went through them in chronological order. And the results were okay up until it came to Sydney, I think it was, and after that, it was just all over the place. So they'd fucked up the scales or something at that point.
Well, how you know is that regardless of what the data is going to look like, there should be a trend, and there isn't one.
Yeah, it was rubbish.
Well, I think the way they know it's an error because if they get a result that doesn't match their preconceived notion, it's obviously done wrong.
Right, that's the other thing.
If you repeat it and get the quote-unquote correct answer, like Critical Think has done.
Whatever the correct Critical Think
has done enormous amounts of weight change with latitude measurements.
How many? Well, first of all,
I don't know.
I'm kind of a douche, but I'm not.
Probably 100 or so.
So what you're saying is that when it matches the globe, it's right. When it doesn't match the globe, it's wrong.
Well, when lots of measurements match one particular explanation and one set doesn't, right? It's like India just said, you throw out the outliers, and it looks like in the GNOME experiment there was a time where they miscalibrated the scales.
Well, they have a calibration weight, so that doesn't really fly. This is precision scale. Okay, this is a precision scientific scale. They took all this into account. They send a calibration weight. It's called a calibration mass that they send with it. Plus, the people that did the measurements, they're actually professional scientists.
Right. Do you know what the calibration weight was in that experiment?
Did you know that part? That the professional scientists that do experiments.
Right. What was the calibration weight?
What is Critical Think? No, they send it with a calibration weight.
Right. The calibration weight is the gnome, champ. The calibration weight is the gnome.
No,
Yes, it is.
No, the calibration weight is not. No, it's not. They send a freaking piece of metal. That's a calibration weight.
Right.
It's
I've got a calibration weight.
It's, yeah, and they send one with their scale. It ships with the scale.
I understand. They
don't just
calibrate
wanna
it
send
to
out
your
the scale,
latitude.
have fun.
They
No,
calibrate
you
it to
take
your
the
latitude.
mass. It's like I don't know if it's 1 kilogram or 100 grams or whatever it is, right? So you tear it with that weight,
Right. That's the gnome.
and that's your
Right.
1 gram. No, it's not the gnome.
Yes,
It's a piece of metal. It actually has a case that fits inside, dude.
Yeah,
You
I've
didn't
got
even look it
calibration
up.
weights in here. I've got calibration
Yeah,
weights.
good
I
for
know what
you.
they
You're
are.
trying to change the subject. You're trying to change the subject to you. I don't care about you.
No.
I care about what they sent to people. And they sent a scale with a calibration weight so they can calibrate the fucking scale.
That's the whole point of the experiment,
And it's not
Indio.
the gnome.
The whole point of the experiment is to calibrate the scales in one location and then show the change in weight of the object, which is the gnome. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but you calibrate the scale before you do your measurement of the gnome.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You calibrate right at the start, and then you don't calibrate it when you move it. That's the whole point.
Okay, so hold on. I'm going to show you. Fucking dude. I already looked this up.
Why would you calibrate it at every location? Then you're just going to get 500 grams.
Because when you shift the scale, they'll get fucked up.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you know that the scales didn't lose some form of calibration during transit?
They did. That's what happened in the results.
That's what the test weights are. That's literally what the
Right.
test weights are. I'm telling you what they do to compensate for that shit.
Oh, Jesus.
These scales aren't cheap, dude.
So
I
the
understand.
Precision scales. This is a
didn't have that
scientific
problem, right?
instrument company. They're not just sending out junk.
Right.
Like all these things that you come up with, these people thought of this a long time ago when they started manufacturing the shit.
Jesus.
Don't you think they ever thought about any of that?
The whole point of the experiment, right, was to show that if you take a set of scales to a different location, the weight of an object will change. What is the point of recalibrating the scales so that a 500 gram mass weighs 500 grams at every location? It's retarded.
That,
you missed
that
the
wasn't
entire
the
point.
It was just an ad, it was an ad campaign. They actually won an award for it. The whole thing is back in 2011. Those little stupid garden gnomes, right? You had, what was it? Was it Travel? What is that website? Travelocity was using that as part of their ad campaign. So basically, they imitated that ad campaign by saying, "Hey, we're going to ship our precision scale all over the place, and we're going to weigh this garden gnome and take a picture of the garden gnome like wherever the hell you are." Because that's what Travelocity did for their ad campaign, right? So they showed a little gnome on a beach chair sitting in Jamaica or something, right? So it was an advertising campaign. That was the whole point of it.
Understood. It was not a rigorous scientific experiment.
Also, did you just say retarded when you virtue signaled at me for saying retarded during our debate? Okay, all right. I just want to call that out.
Yeah, what the heck, Rue?
Yeah,
My bad.
So he don't really care. That's not actually a principle he has. That's just some fucking stupid social shaming bullshit.
Yes, of course.
Why would you do that, man?
I said that immediately. I'm like, Ruhif, we say that all the time. Why did you suddenly pretend to be offended in public? It made me feel weird. And he was
because he has to.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the janitor of this space, I just want everyone to follow their own social rules.
You must be consistent. True. Consistent in your social shame and your virtue signal. It must be the same between coordinate systems.
A little invariance, shame invariance.
That being said, Shane, you do say it a little too much. We're gonna have to dial it down.
I retract my R word and say that's a very silly idea. You're a silly goose.
I unretract your retraction and I put that retard right back on you, buddy. You bought it, you break it, you buy it.
Yeah.
You say it, you own it.
One-time sale.
Yeah. Anyway, I tried to look into it, and the company basically said, yeah, we didn't do anything.
Yeah, it sounds like the
That
globular
sucks.
proof is like, we definitely did it. Well, we kind of did it. Well, listen, we did most of it. Okay, well, we did it, and it still proves the thing we say it does, even though we didn't do it at all. Like what? The evolution of globularity.
Yeah, I better find
So
this
what they
spreadsheet.
had was, so they had a website that had Google Maps, and Google Maps took that functionality away where you could embed a map into a website and put pins on it with information and shit. So what they did is they shipped scale all over the place, and then they would take the data that was collected, put a pin in the map, and when you hovered over the pin, it would give you the data that they collected, like the scientists that took it, the location, all the information. So like Lawrence Livermore Labs, Sandia National Labs, CERN, Amazon Space Station, right? They were sending it to scientists and universities and shit. They weren't sending it to Critical Think, some fucking YouTuber.
Oh, just throw out his results then. Just throw them all out.
Well, first of all, he ain't a trustworthy person just right off the rip.
Oh, neither are you.
And not
You're a
because
flat
he's a
earther.
Glober, just because, well,
No, you're a flat earther.
no,
You
it
can't
has
trust
nothing to do
anything
with
you
him
do.
being a Glober.
Can't trust
No,
anything
no,
a
no,
flat
no,
earther
no.
does because they're all liars.
Well, let's
That's
not get
fine.
carried away,
You can say that.
Ruhiv. That's crazy.
I know.
You can say that.
You know what I'm
but
doing, Alan. Come on.
well, the reason I don't trust him is independent of him being a Glober. It's independent of that. Just go watch his videos.
Right. How about if you think he's lying, feel free to reproduce his experiment and see what results you get.
Well, who reproduced it? Well, not in Australia. He did it in North America. Mr. Thrive and Survive, who has a PhD.
Oh, he's an idiot.
Well,
He's a
not
flat earther. He's a
PhD,
liar. Can't trust him. Can't trust Mr.
yeah, that's fine, but he replicated. Oh, well, that's fine. So we have two freaking liars against each other. So we'll have to go with the freaking professional scientists that show that the data doesn't match the globe. I guess we got to go with that one.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I'll be good.
Real quick, Mordwan said he's in. I think he's gonna request a microphone.
Ugh. Okay.
What one's good? Come on.
He said he doesn't want to
Why don't we
dox.
do gold arbitrage? Why don't we do gold arbitrage, man? Right? We just fly the fucking gold around and make millions of dollars.
Right, because they calibrate scales to latitude.
Oh, really?
Yes. That's the whole point. You seem to have missed the entire point of the GNOME experiment. They're not going to calibrate it at each location. They would have calibrated at the start, wherever that was, and then shown that the weight changes depending on where you are.
That wasn't the point of the test. They have to calibrate the scale in the first place to know if it's accurately measuring, right?
They weigh it at one location. That is the calibration at the start of the entire thing. Then they ship the scale somewhere else. They do not calibrate it from that point on.
Look, they weren't trying to prove latitude and longitude. They weren't trying to prove weight varied. It was an advertising campaign. But the data that comes out is different, right? So it's one of these unintentional things that they did this ad campaign and it produced some data. They weren't trying to prove that weight varied by latitude. It wasn't even
Yes,
tested
they were.
that. They weren't trying to do that. No,
That's
they
exactly what
weren't.
they're trying to do.
No,
That's
they
exactly
weren't.
what they were trying to do. Like,
I'll pull up the website. It's on archive. It's on archive.org.
yeah. They're showing the precision of their scales by showing that it weighs differently at different latitudes.
I think I made it so everyone can speak whenever.
Nice.
Dude, why did you do that, man?
Well, that's what you said to do. It was your idea, and I'm blaming you if anything goes wrong. So.
Nah, yeah, you have to fix that. Like Peter has a mic,
Yeah.
dude. The dude's dog shit. That's a
Yeah,
zero
I gave him a
micer.
mic though. He still had to request somehow, and I agreed. So that's not on me.
Oh,
Tell
well,
Mordwand I'll
fixed it.
tag out. I'll tag out with Mordwand if he comes in.
Why would you do that?
I've got to go in 5 minutes, so yeah.
Do you like Mordwan? Is he your new buddy? You guys buddies?
Yes. Yes.
Are you just saying that because you know we all hate him?
Why do you hate him?
We're not tagging in
Yeah.
Mordwa, dude.
So let me read you right from what they posted on in 2012, December 4th, 2012. Precision Scale Brandon Kern has been running the GNOME experiment, a global project designed to explore the phenomenon which gravity varies on different parts of the world. Now, does gravity only vary from latitude?
No, there's the geoid, but like the effect of centrifugal force is way bigger than that.
Yeah, so they weren't focused on latitude or longitude.
Yes, they were.
They're trying to measure a variation.
No. They're not trying to measure variations in the
right
geoid.
from them, like, yeah,
Right.
you can just insert your own shit in there. I'm
Right.
reading right what they said, dude.
Understood. All right. When they say the difference in gravity, I think they're including centrifugal force in that. They're not trying to measure the variations in the geoid. I don't think their scales could do that, actually.
Let me find it. Okay.
It's like at least an order of magnitude more effect from centrifugal force than the geoid undulations.
Well, can you explain why it's so different than the prediction?
Yeah, like I said, I arranged all the measurements chronologically, and they worked okay up to a point, and then it looks like the calibration was smashed.
Well, I got a graph. I can post it.
Yeah,
I actually got the
dig mine up as
spreadsheet
well.
too.
Oh, Shane.
Hold on a second. I'll put it in the jungle.
Yeah, I plotted it too.
Yeah.
Are you laughing at my super emojis?
Yes, that's good. I've got a spreadsheet somewhere as well, actually. Somewhere. Where is it? Oh, I'll find it. Chat later. Have you blocked me on Discord, India? It's possible.
I don't know. I don't even see who's talking.
All right.
Who am I talking to?
Oh,
Sorry.
that could be a good.
I know I've heard your voice before.
Good. Hope you don't recognize it then.
Well, when we showed him the thing Indio before, he was like, "Oh, Indio, good lad. He's blocked me on every platform known to man. He hates my guts." That's what he said about you. So
pretty sure you booted me from 24/7.
That's a little hyperbolic.
Yeah, we suspected.
All right, I gotta go. Yeah, back in a couple of hours. See you
later, G.
The only glober allowed in spaces. How'd that guys go? Look at that.
Nice.
The only clover with any nuts, apparently.
That's true, though. In a lot of cases, dude. We like Ruhif here, so.
Oh, that was Ruhif. Fuck him again.
Yep. I mean, like, he's a glober.
I don't not like him. He just gets boring.
Yeah, that's true. But, like, in the land of no globers. Oh. No, he does. He does.
I just found my JPEG of the GNOME data.
It's never like a real concession. It's like apologizing because you have to. Like your mother makes you apologize for slapping the other kid, but you're glad you did it. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. He doesn't really.
Well, dude, like, what kind of expectations do you have on this thing? Like a real, genuine realization or like emotion? Like, come on, going through the motions is enough for me. He said sorry, right? Like, he said that I was. That's it. That's all you get.
That's good enough. Yeah, it's funny.
So, Alan or Shane, take a pick. Bug over to the Discord main chat. Right there, I just posted the JPEG I produced from the NASA prediction as well as the actual data that came out of it for the GNOME project.
Nice. I'll put it on the jumbo. 1 second.
Right on.
Yeah, I posted. So this spreadsheet was made by Phuket Word way back in the day. He's also got, I don't know if you guys did this, but he's got elevation, humidity, temperature. He went and he got everything for it. So it isn't just like the way of the known. I think he was trying to find a correlation between pressure and the change, but I don't think there was ever any correlation there.
Hello.
Yo.
What's up, guys?
Who dat? Who dis? New phone.
Lucas, I think.
Yeah, this is more one. How you doing?
Oh, okay. Well.
You about to get a lot of funding for your activities. It's exciting.
Who is?
Oh, didn't Shane tell you?
You holding out?
Oh, it's okay. I don't need to virtue signal.
Shane hit the lottery?
Yeah, he did hit the lottery.
Did you want to
know
tell
what they
everyone?
Say, a fool and his money are easily parted.
Much on you, Shane? What's up?
Well, Morderwin made a statement that no flat earther could predict stuff, and Shane came along with a flat earth prediction with some Besselian polynomial expressions and some XY coordinate systems that would in fact do some predictions. And Morderwan said that he'd pay on the bet, so we'll see.
Oh, my mic is muted. Welcome, Morwan.
Hello, thank you.
Also, who the fuck is Shane?
Who the fuck is Shane?
Some asshole.
You know, just a guy I'm obsessed with and mentioned constantly in another Discord in a way that's totally not pathetic.
I do have ears everywhere. People do tell me things. Whenever shit is being talked, dude, there are whispers, just so everyone's clear. On Discord, on Twitter, you think you're talking shit? Nah, somebody's recording you. You should just assume on the internet you're always being recorded and speak accordingly. That's what I do.
So, oh fuck, I wish Rupert didn't leave. I want to float this past him. So, have anybody heard of the coastline problem?
Yeah, it's
Problem with
really
measuring
hard.
coastline?
Yeah, really hard to do so, it turns out.
Can you get a little closer to your mic, Indio?
It's impossible. It's not actually hard. It's just impossible. Like it depends on the unit of measure, right? So, if you use one, I mean, I guess you could measure it at the plank length and be pretty certain, but that you're not going to get any smaller than that. But basically, whatever the unit of measure is, the smaller the unit of measure you use, the longer the coastline. So if you measure in miles and then you measure in inches, and then you sum, like if you do all your 1 inch segments and sum them, and then sum the miles, the inch measurements aren't going to equal the mile measurements. The inch sum is going to be larger than the mile sum. So this is a coastline problem. And it's because, and whenever you're trying to measure like an undulating curved surface, right, and you're using a unit of measure, you don't, that little unit, straight line unit's only going to fit so far into that little curved undulation, right? It's only going to fit in there so much. And then if you have a smaller unit of measure, it'll fit further in there, and you can measure smaller little segments or more segments. So that's basically the problem. So I was going to say a roof that if you have a bunch of underlying freaking undulating angles, and then you're taking the differences in angles, right, that are undulating, right, they're changing. And like I just said, the unit it doesn't change the difference between the unit of measure, whether it's angles, inches, doesn't matter. The unit of measures matters because you're saying distances between 2 points is based upon the angle, right? And you're converting your undulating angle into a distance.
Yep.
So if we switch to freaking microradians, right, and then converted that into distances, and then converted that back into a distance, if I use microradians versus degrees, it's going to sum to a different freaking value. And like I tried to explain this to Jesse Kozlowski, and he was just totally lost on him. He's a freaking nitwit. And when you have all these undulation, like deflecting verticals, man, like every single measurement is different, right? So it's not perpendicular to the surface. It's a little teeny thing. And there's make lots and lots and lots of measurements. It adds up over time. It's like an error that keeps building up. So Alan, did you see I don't know if Alan's still here. Alan, did you see that post that screenshot I sent with
Which
the
one?
NAD 27 and NAD 83?
Ooh, those sound like geographic graticules.
Was that in Levelheads chat?
Datums.
No, it was in the post. No, it was in the post you made of the video that I was speaking in.
Oh, no, I didn't see that at
Hold on,
all.
hold on.
Also, while we were talking, I threw that video and added my 2-minute thing at the end and made it a 5-minute video on maps and threw it out, and that's in the jumbo.
Nice. You had a little coordinate system, simultaneity, and off to the races.
Yeah, right at the end for a little 219 tail end.
Nice,
feel,
nice.
You know?
Hold on, I'll post in the jumbotron. So they did the North American datum 1927. The way their technique was they started at one place called Meade Ranch in Kansas or Fort Meade or something like that. And they did astrogeodetic surveying for like 6 months to get a local coordinate. So this local coordinate was the origin of coordinates. And then they surveyed out from that point, from one side of the country, from there to the East Coast and to the West Coast. Okay. So they did their more North American datum in 83, and they used the WGS 84 ellipsoid, and that was their datum. It wasn't like, their basically was all, I don't know what you call it. Would you call it an astronomical model? I don't know. But they didn't use like a central, it wasn't based off the Earth, it was based upon the stars, right? Where they think the stars are, and they made the ellipsoid based upon that.
Yep.
So they measured the difference, so that they compared the difference between the 1980, the 27 and 83, and what they found was that, like, basically starting at the Ohio River Valley, as you go eastward, where the benchmarks are, where they've stuck them into the ground in 1927, the distances between them were too short, and the further you go east, the more too short they were, right? East, east, east. But when you go west, they're too far apart, and farther and farther and farther apart as you go west, 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 right? So instead of like marking like, oh, this is supposed to be, 45, it's 43 north, latitude, and whatever it is, longitude, right? Instead of sticking down a new marker, right, they just went to the old marker and changed the number on it, which is, so they didn't fix the measurement. They just literally changed the coordinates of their benchmark markers that were stamped into the ground.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense. Yep.
Yeah, so this is like, it's like, this reveals the whole game, right? They did one survey, they stuck down benchmarks, they freaking pounded them into the freaking mountains and shit, right? If you ever been on the Appalachian Trail or anything, you'll go up mountains and you'll see like a survey marker smashed into the freaking ground, right? And instead, when they get to these survey markers, they're like, oh, this coordinate's wrong. We'll just stick a new one on there. And the only reason they think the coordinate's wrong is because the new survey came up with a different result. And they're like, oh, this is in the wrong place. And instead of like taking, like saying, hey, we measured, and like there should be a marker right here at 43 north, freaking 73 longitude. There should be a marker right here. It's not here. It's 50 meters that way. Do they move the freaking benchmark that's 50 meters to that new location? No, they just freaking go stamp the other one. They do the calculation and then they stamp the other one. It's just crazy, dude. To me, that's crazy. Then you didn't actually measure everything. You're just like doing oh, we think it should be this. We're just gonna freaking do what we think and just stamp a number on here.
Yep. Dude, the way like you can always tell, it's like, hey, if you're taking the cosine of something, you're getting a horizontal component using basic trig, and you're calculating, you're not measuring jack shit. So like cosine of a latitude based on the graticule will only bring you back to the graticule. Of course, it will give you geodesic distances, and of course that's how they did it. So then it makes sense that, the measurements that we did to make this model, well, yeah, we'll just stick what it is on that post over there. You get it, Jim? Yep. All right, let's go. It's lunch. Because they weren't going out there to like fix the globe. They were like, well, it's obviously a globe, right? And my job is to write it on this stick. So I guess I'll just write what it is then. And then off they go doing their job, dude, right? And then we have the American Arc of the Parallel Triangulation Survey with the results. And they're like, listen, we measured the Earth, 911 pages. Look, guys, we measured it. And you read it and you're like, so you calculated, you corrected, you aligned to longitude, aligned to the stars, calculated again, changed dioid model, changed datum to another spherical datum, changed from ellipsoid to spherical. Okay. Where did you measure the Earth? Where are the Earth measurements? Wait. We calculated, corrected, a table, addendum, latitude correction. Okay, astronomical corrections. Wait, guys, where are the Earth measurements? And you're like, we don't do that no more. Yeah, it turns out this is how it's done.
Well, listen, it's so easy to measure a spherical Earth that that book I was talking about, Mathematical and Physical Theories of Higher Geodesy. It's in 2 volumes. The first volume's 900 pages of equations, and the second volume 600 pages of them. So it's that easy.
You can measure by calculation, it turns out, when you're talking about the sphere. In no other case does that work, but when you're proving Earth curve, dude, you can calculate that measurement right on up.
Dude, that's why it like irks me. It like puts the hair up on the back of my neck when I hear a Goldberg just say, "Oh, they measure Earth curve with geodesy. They measure the curve." No, dude, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yep. All the things they say. Yeah, like some Greek measured it and knew it was a sphere. You idiot! Thousands of years ago, and it's like incorrect, right? Assumption of parallel light rays and a difference of a known thing of 800 kilometers and observed shadow angle at Alexandria versus studying 800 kilometers away would be 7.2 degrees difference over 360 times the difference in kilometers yields the 40,000 kilometer circumference of the thing. That doesn't dictate anything about the shape of the Earth, but people on the internet just stammer vagaries like some Greek said it 2,000 years ago, you idiot, and that's it. Not only is that it, that's the extent of their knowledge. That's all most people know, and that's enough to keep the masses where they are. And it's like, oh no, but that Greek that you loosely mentioned, first of all, doesn't have any evidence that he's real or existed, right? But even if he was, only measured a circumference and never dictated what the circumference was. Only an idiot would be like, well, we looked at the sun, we measured the sun, took an angle of the shadow of the sun, and conclusion, behold, that's the Earth. Measured the Earth 100%. And now it's so bad that the best way to measure the Earth is to look at and measure the sun directly. And that's like in the book of geodesy.
Well, are you glad?
Well, I don't know at this point, but I was just going to say, I don't know at this point why they're still trying to defend Eratosthenes. There's actually peer-reviewed stuff that basically says, yeah, his conclusions.
No,
there's a presupposition.
I got you one better, Indio. Do you guys want to know what the presupposition is? A bunch of lads got together, and then they couldn't figure out, what a stadia was or what the measurement was that your boy Eratosthenes did with his old sticks and shaddies. So the lads got together, and you know what they did? They just agreed on a ratio of a terrestrial meridian, and that was what was used as the unit of measurement for a stadia. So when they say Eratosthenes happened to guess within 98% of the globe or whatever, dude, it's literally a ratio of the terrestrial meridian that they agreed on. It's like they got together and said, "Oh, we agreed that his estimate was in 98%," and then they just picked the number that would make it 98%, and then that's the story we're given, boys. They have no idea. Bunch of dudes got together and made it up. I'll post a link for the citation here in a minute.
Yeah. So what do you guys think of it?
There's actually a publication it's called from the American Journal of Philology, whatever the hell that is. Which I think is some like part of history. It's called The Length of Eratosthenes' Stod by Donald Engels, Volume 6. So if you read through this, they don't even know the length of the stod, even within 30%. That's how much the values vary. Which I should also mention, I got it from JSTOR, so I can't really post it on, especially after they did what they did to Aaron Schwartz. So I can't post it on X, but I can post it like in Discord or something.
Yeah, you're straight, dog. You guys hear that thunder and lightning going on right now? That ether, that ether just equalized out there.
You guys know what JSTOR is? JSTOR?
Yeah, the original document thing. And Aaron Schwartz was the first person to write a script that distributed him for free and gave him the thing. And then the system burned him down, made him kill himself, and the whole thing. It's the father of the Copyright Act and COPPA right there, homie.
So I actually got access to that. So if you guys ever find anything in there you need it, just tell me. I'll just get it for you.
I love the Aaron Schwartz story, dude. Nice. I wrote an article on that thing.
So I posted the link to the website. It's dioi.org. And you go to that link, and these are some academic lads that got together and review a bunch of historical narratives to see if it holds true. For example, they go over the narrative of the discovery of Neptune and the relation to where the celestial bodies would be if such a gravitational anomaly existed versus where Neptune's actual position would be when you reverse its orbit. And it's like they just made up the story to fill it in, to tell everyone a nice cohesive story about how there was an anomaly that they followed through with, and that led to the discovery. And then there was the other one for Eratosthenes, where they go over how the lads didn't know about the stadia, so they just got together and agreed upon making it a ratio of a terrestrial meridi. And then there was another one. Oh, who's that guy? Hipparchus. Hipparchus and Ptolemy, or as Stone likes to say, thinking of a croissant, Ptolemy. So what's up with that guy is those two lads are supposed to have their own independent star catalogs where they, derive their conceptualizations of the universe or what have you. And you guys, you'll never believe it. They both made the same mistakes and like interjected the same fake data point where they wouldn't be possible. So when they falsified the Hipparchus one, like the same mistake was in the was in Ptolemy's. So that's a rip too. They literally just cut and copy pasted it. And then to like add on to that before I land the plane here, when I was looking into, what was his name? Jefamenkov, the guy that did the historical revision on basically reverse engineering eclipse cycles and seeing if they lined up with historical narratives. When he was looking through the history of the Chinese astronomy, they basically have their version of a Tycho Brahe character who did all this like masterful astronomy stuff, figured out all this stuff, came up with ways to measure it. No evidence of like how he derived the tools or how he used them, but they just have some tools, and then they just assume that these, what he scribbled down in these what do they call it, parchment paper that they have is definitely evidence that he was out there cataloging the stars. But anyway, when he plotted that data against the European historical data, guys, you'll never believe where the errors are, or where there's missing pieces in the data. It's all identical to the missing gaps in history for European history. So it's like this dude just independently went into like a mini dark age. Dude, it's insane. All over the world, it's all like concatenated into a cohesive, blurry timeline where it's like, oh, we just came out of the dark ages and we stumbled into the globe. It's insane.
Like, thank God for heliocentrism and globularity. Yeah, dude, the conference, Berlin, 1867 National Geodetic Conference, it's where they literally came together and decided things. And there's some like tomfoolery here because they're like, yeah, well, it used to be relation to a quarter of a length of a terrestrial meridian. It used to mean that, and like inherently in first person, but they changed it. And it no longer is that. Now it's a proportionate increment of the speed of light, you dumb flurf, and now it's different. And it's like, oh. The thing about that, though, is before, when it was 1/10 millionth of a terrestrial equator from the North Pole to the equator, it actually was 39.37 English inches. And then after it, when you ratio it over 1/299,792,458, the value actually changes to the same value, 39.37 English inches. So whether you ratio it and pretend that it's a ratio of a terrestrial meridian or a ratio of a thing of light, the actual length of it is the same, and it is in itself a unit of a proportion of a sphere inherently. So
they globed us with a globe, and then they said, look, boys, it's a globe, and we've been globing ever since. And now that we've detracted, it's over, dude.
Globing ever since.
They made the whole thing up, and then
I have
retro
a quick question.
fitted it in.
Alan, do you have another website like this? Because this website's awesome. And then my other question is, who is this Ptolemy, and what did this Ptolemy allegedly do if he was a real person?
Not exactly sure what Ptolemy was up to in the old days, but apparently he was quite the lad. Measured some circumferences of something. Shane knows quite a bit about how to derive circumferences optically, so he was involved in that. And then I think he had a geocentric model as well, and like some of his data or whatever, I guess, is completely based off of other people. So like he might not even have existed. It's just like the data set and everything is just delivered through him as a story. And then it was the same data set.
Yeah, he was an overachiever, man.
That they lied about. Yeah, is it?
Dude, all the fake Greeks are super overachievers. Dude. It's like, oh, I invented math, created this thing, then created a sextant, invented the thing. Oh, did trig? I invented trigonometry. I invented the longitude. I also invented a special type of book. I wrote 7 books. I'm a narrative. Poof! It died in a fire. There's no evidence. It's all really true.
There was this fire at this library that lasted for 6 months. All of our history died, but we remember what was written about it and who wrote it, but just not like we just don't have their exact words. But we'll go ahead and rewrite that for you on the Freezy, and
Yeah, we'll tell you what they meant to
that.
say.
Yeah,
and what they meant for you to learn from it.
Yep.
Well, it burnt down twice. No. They just say it burnt down twice though, because you can't like, oh, it burnt down. You're like, well, they couldn't have lost everything. Well, then it burnt down again. Like,
Yeah,
they say some stuff. And there
Like,
was
what did you
another
say?
fire.
It's like, no, there was 3 fires. How many fires will it take for you to shut the fuck up? That's how many fires there were. Okay.
Supposedly, though, they were good at like verbal history, though, right? Like the Iliad and the Odyssey, the stories that they were passed on via like poetry and verbally, right?
Probably. I mean, that's how a lot of people like. So the like the Quran and the Rig Veda, those things are passed by like word of mouth, but they're sung like a song, so it's like easier to remember. So like that's how people, you know, let's put it this way, more primitive cultures, they pass information with like stories and, you know, songs and things like that, because it's actually a more natural way to learn than reading a book. I mean, think about how many times you've had a song stuck in your head.
That makes sense. The mnemonic effect, like melodic, is a very good mnemonic. I forgot the exact term. Mnemonic device. That's the term. Stuff that's melodic would be a good mnemonic device.
Well, so
yeah, because you're creating another association.
What do you guys think about a meter being ratioed of a quarter of a length of a terrestrial meridian, and then a meter equaling, inches, you going 2.54 inches, centimeters to an inch, to the English inches to mile, into kilometers to, and then we have, of course, miles to nautical miles being decided around the same conference. So we have, if everything is just measured in units of a fucking terrestrial meridian, why do the distances on the globe match up, guys?
Ooh, because the units of measurement are derived from the coordinate system that describes describes the globe.
Dude, you might as well be counting, dude. What's the distance from the North Pole to the equator? 6,219 globular corpuscles. That's how many units there is. miles.
Well, they don't use that. They don't use that definition for a meter anymore. They got done with that brainwashing, so they switched it because now they need to brainwash you about the constant speed of light. So now they fix the meter to the speed of light. Right. So 1 meter is the distance that light travels in 1/299,000th of a second or something.
Yeah, that's a funny trick though, but it's still 3.97 inches no matter what they pretend to ratio it against, right? It's like, oh, it's actually a quarter terrestrial meridian. They're like, no. We're gonna make it ratio to a speed of light. And you're like, cool. What's the change? Is it up or down? Oh, it's exactly no change. It's the same value. Oh, so you didn't change shit. Yeah. We just called it something else. Okay, cool.
But you got to define distance in some context, though, right?
Measure the speed of light. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
That?
I didn't hear what you said. Say again.
You need to define distance in some kind of context, though, right? It's got to have some physical meaning.
Dude, I thought that was.
So why not choose some dimension of the Earth?
It's Darren. Oh, I thought it was Rude. He sounds just like him.
So this is the problem. Is that say the speed of light is variable, right? And you set the meter to the speed of light, then how are you ever going to measure a change in the variability of the speed of light? Because your unit of measure is now hooked to the thing that you're measuring.
It's almost like that was on purpose. I'm a little suspicious.
And that's the same thing that he just talked about with the globe, right? They fixed the meter at one point in time to what was it? Some subdivision of the equator, right?
110 million from the distance from the North Pole to the equator, yeah.
Yeah, so so it was a subdivision of that distance, right? So you can't even measure, you can't get a different value because you set the length of a meter. If it was a so-called other distance, because you've set the distance of a meter as that the distance between those 2 points, it could be 5 times farther. You would just make your meter 5 times longer, right? Now because the definition of a meter just changed. Because it's a ratio between those two, right? So now meters are longer. And they got done with that, right? They brainwashed people with that. And they're like, oh, we need to use this meter trick again. Let's use it on the speed of light. They're like, let's do this.
The old classic, they call it the rinse and repeater.
Oh, what else is all of this went down in the same time frame? Like, right, what I'm saying, Tartaria happened right 1860 to 1928, right? And it's like, when was this conference? Oh, right in the middle of that. When did Alex Gleason write his book? Right in the middle of that. When did everything is right in the middle of that. And then after that, it was like, guys, it's always been the globe, right? Right after that, it's like, actually looking back, it turns out the globe has always existed and will always exist. It looks like the globe is a globe in perpetuity now. And it's like, I see what happened.
I see what happened. You guys figured out how to make a map, and then you asserted control over everybody with units of measurement derived from nature. Got it.
Yes, dude. Once they were like, listen, we're going to give them a metric system, that's when they were fucked. Go ahead and try to measure shit. Go ahead. We'll wait here.
Dude, yeah, how funny is that? They split us off too. Like, so we'll never get back to figuring it out.
Yep. Imagine they went, like, had all these conferences on how to deceive the world and to bring the globe in, and they called them, well, it wasn't like evil. It was the 1867 German Geodetic National Conference where we decided the units of measurement in the SI. And you're like, yeah, it sounds innocuous. And it's like, yeah, that's where we decided that everything would be a unit of a globe.
1 unit of globe, please.
How many globe lengths is it from here to there? I don't know.
3959 globes.
Yep, globules.
Oh, by the way, the person asking about Ptolemy had like a 10% smaller globe, and apparently that's what Christopher Columbus used.
Oh, he had that baby
And
globe?
that's why he found Indians. That's why he found Indians that weren't in India.
Are you talking about Ptolemy?
Yeah, Ptolemy, I think you meant.
Ptolemy's globe was smaller than, and I haven't yet figured out how he did that. It's like, I've tried to find out, but it's like, there isn't very many sources on like whatever he actually did. I really haven't figured it out. Apparently he figured out the distance between two longitudes and then extrapolated a globe from that. But I haven't figured out what his technique was. It's not well documented or something.
That'd be
but
tough.
That's what they say. They say he had a radius.
Because here's where I get confused, right? Hipparchus, 200 BC, invented longitude. Board of Longitude, 1714, is when they actually defined longitude as meridian and chose the Greenwich. So the people from 200 BC to 1700, what the fuck form of longitude were they using to calculate the length of a meridian and or fucking size of the Earth? Somebody enlighten me. Hipparchus invented longitude for nobody to use it, for it to sit around idly just until we needed it 1,700 years later when the Board of Longitude decided that John, the chronometer maker, decided that he needed to go to do it. Like, what are the odds of that? And then what a nice guy for him to invent it 1,700 years ahead of time for us to use it for globularity. Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, and they'd already gone around the Earth, according to them, right? They went around their ball already, so why did they even need to do that? They did
Right.
without it, right? Like,
Yeah.
Why do you need it now?
So weird. And then right after that, all our problems started.
It's handy to have longitude if you want to go back to somewhere, though, isn't it? Some way of measuring your progression in an east-west direction.
Yeah,
regardless of what its definition is, it's a useful coordinate.
And welcome to the spaces, Darren. You seem like a very reasonable glober. Am I going to be wrong about that?
My reasonability varies, but I'll try to be.
You seem, judging from all the comments that I've seen you make, very reasonable. So let's see.
Unlike certain other.
Is there a reason your reasonability becomes unreasonable?
Yeah, in the face of other unreasonability, I suppose that I'll often clash with people in some other forums like this, but they usually provoke me. Always remains cordial and truthful, to the best of my knowledge. So,
are you sure you're a glober, Darren?
Oh, I am. Okay. I did about that, Shane.
All right.
All right, before we begin, Shane, swear on the Gleason. Darren, swear on whatever you would like to swear on.
Swear on GPS.
Nice.
Nice.
GPS, you said.
Yeah, I know what you guys think about GPS, and it doesn't alarm me too much.
Oh, well.
Was that a compliment or like? I don't understand the framework.
Well, so from my perspective, GPS, right? I'm not fluent in relativity, so I'm not all that concerned about whether or not it proves or disproves any aspect of relativity or the Sagnac effect or the constancy of speed of light, that kind of stuff. All I know is that from the practical implementation, GPS works and it shows us the shape of the Earth, and it's a pretty robust method of determining the shape of the Earth and orbital characteristics and stuff like that.
Well, before a couple of days ago, I would have agreed with you on terms of using GPS for the shape. But I recently came across an argument that I think kind of tilts the scales a little bit. So I'll run it by you. So even though you're not familiar with GR or anything like that, we could still get to the basics of it. So they've experimentally locked themselves into, and by they, I'm just talking about mainstream science and physics, right? So they've locked themselves into accepting that the Earth has a equigravitational gradient, right? And what this means is if you're at 70 feet above the surface of the Earth, you will be at a different gravitational potential than somebody else. And if you're going to emit electromagnetic propagation, if you're going to emit like a signal at a certain frequency, at the top of that emission, when it hits the ground, it'll be at a different frequency because it's going to exchange energy with the gravitational field as it gets closer to the Earth, where the gradient will be stronger. And when they did an experiment at 70 feet and they did one at 75 feet, and they found that there was a difference. There was the shift that they were looking for. So they were like, okay, general relativity is true. So we got to make these gravitational potential corrections, right? And then we get to satellites, right? So they say that they make one correction for general relativity, and that's due to the equigravitational potential. And they say that at altitude, everything just balances out and it's good to go, and they don't need to add any further corrections. Now, when they send signals to somebody on the globe, let's say that person is at the 50th latitude and the satellite is over their head directly, right? So at their zenny. So it's sending out its signals at the same time, right? Because you know how it's just omnidirectional propagation out, right? So it hits the 50th latitude guy, right? So equipotential, he's not going to require a correction, but it's going to hit a dude at the 40th or 45th, et cetera, like somewhere down on the globe, because of the contour of the shape of the Earth, right? It's going to be at a different gravitational potential relative to that satellite, and that you're definitely going to have to correct for that, especially if they're going to have to go as far as to say that they need to correct for it at 70 feet and 75 feet. Otherwise, their detectors wouldn't work for their experiment. And in addition to that, what was put forward as an argument to justify the equipotentialness and the balancing out of it all, right, is they say that because the Earth is spinning and it's oblate and the Earth's gravitational field is stationary, that it just magically offsets it everywhere, and it doesn't require, and there's no latitude dependent corrections required in GPS. Now, if you're familiar with geodetic surveying, what they did with a plumb bob, right, with a string and a little piece of metal, is they hung it from a theodolite and then said that due to the gravitational potential of the Earth, that plumb bob wasn't actually going to the center of the ball, and they had to physically tilt their device to correct for it to make it match when they were taking their measurements. So if any of that was true, and this model that they give us, this GSW, geoid, and all that stuff, like where it's based off of the gravitational potential, if any of those anomalies were actually true, they would manifest in GPS corrections, and you would have mandatory latitude dependent corrections to deal with that. And none of them exist, and they just magically are equipotentialed out. So my argument that I would put forward is that if the satellites are on a plane above us doing their, orbits, right, and we're on a plane and there's equipotential gradient between us, there would be no need to have latitude dependent corrections. What do you think? What are you thinking?
So like I said, what you're discussing here is relativistic corrections, right? Mostly, and that's not something that I can speak to fluently.
Basically,
And from what I understand, the magnitude of those corrections is relatively small in terms of the scheme of the overall function of GPS. And the key thing for me for GPS is two key things. One is that to turn your to establish your location, the GPS satellites need to be where they say they are at the time they are. And if they're not, you will not be able to get a converge on your fix. And that for me is the key thing.
Oh.
Any subsequent relativistic corrections or tweaks to the actual final location you determine are kind of secondary to that core thing.
Gotcha. Well, we were talking specifically in shape. If we're talking in timing of when the craft will appear above you, right? That can be solved by a matter of scale and variance, because all you see and get is a little light in the sky, when you can actually see the GPS satellites when they make their transits. But you get your signal accordingly. Now, if the systems were much closer, right, they could be traveling slower, but still close the sky in the same amount of time that it would take. You would get your signals that would be spoofed out to give you the coordinates as if they were at a certain altitude when they wouldn't have to be, right? And they already have that capability to do that in the system. And part of giving civilians access to it was changing it so that we would have more accurate stuff with it. Anyway, so there would be no while you were relying on that, you would never actually know a difference due to scale and variance based on the signals they're sending you, because they would give you back the coordinate system that it outputs on your receiver would make you think that the coordinates that were sent from the satellite are true.
So there's a couple of things there. So you need at least 5 satellites to get strong convergence. All of those satellites send the same signal to everybody, right? So you can capture this data before it's turned into a position. And if the position of the satellites is not correct for the time of flight that you calculate, so the pseudo range, your calculated position will not be correct, or you will not be able to converge on a position. So the satellites, if they aren't where they say they are in that coordinate system, you will not be able to locate your position. And there are other tells like Doppler shift. So the Doppler shift is very distinctive, right? And that is not scale invariant.
So for the first thing, what they could do, let's see, the first point, it's still, oh man, I just had it before you continued. It was, what was the first thing you said? Sorry. I just lost
if
it.
the satellites aren't where they say they are, and the distances aren't what you calculate, you can't get position fix.
I'm back. Okay, so again, that's a timing issue, right? So that would be fixed through the scale and variance. So that would not be an issue for the timing mechanism. Now, as for the second part that you said, which was the Doppler shift, they can send out spoofed Doppler frequencies. They have military applications.
Not for everybody.
For that.
Not for everybody all the time.
Dude, the whole. Okay, just for.
Well, I mean, how would you?
Dude, no. Can I
say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
If what he was saying was true, spoofing GPS would be impossible, but it's not impossible.
It's just about impossible. You can spoof it for most of the spoofing techniques involve specific knowledge of the receiver that the user has. They can jam it, right? No dramas. But to spoof a location, you need to have specific knowledge of the type of receiver that the user has. You need to know exactly where the user is so that you can insert your signal into theirs and eventually take over from the original one. Spoofing is extremely difficult and not feasible to do on a global scale.
So if the signals that the crafts are sending,
I don't know why you think it would be difficult.
Yeah, it would already be offset. Like that's part of the scale invariance, right? So that when you get it on the ground, you're like, oh, look, globe and also 20,000 altitude from satellite.
No, so the speed of light is involved in your calculation, right? So that breaks the scale invariance. You get a physical absolute distance that is calculated between you and the satellite. So they're using the same coordinate system, but the pseudo range is an absolute distance.
Ooh, well, that's true. You do get it based off of the speed of light, but to hide the variance, though, they make a correction to it, a SAGNet correction that like on the back end of that, it's like a plus or minus 3%. So with that leadway, dude, you'll never know anything about anything if you use GPS other than globe's the globe.
So this is the SAGNet correction that's baked into the clock, or the one that is
no, you're
applied at the receiver side.
Well, both. Your device will account for it, and the clocks also account for it when they're So check this out. Also, when the clocks pass ground stations, they correct their clocks.
Yes. Yep.
So
that's part of keeping everything.
So it's like that sort of meridian correction is never going to output anything, even if it was like a globe or a flat Earth. You're never going to be able to tell anything different from what that signal is going to give you from what they want it to. Right? Because of that alone, the fact that anytime it passes a ground station, the distance in between that, it and the speed that it's supposed to be at, projected out, they will offset the clocks. Like, dude, you could never know. It's always going to be it's always going to go back to your preferred coordinate system. And if you know
the
that,
part of the control, that control segment step is responsible for keeping the clocks calibrated, updating the almanacs, and providing updated ionospheric propagation information that its receivers can use to correct. Right, so that's all about keeping accounting for variations in time over the performance of the satellite and its position.
Well,
so that's independent of what actually happens when you receive the signal yourself, right? And you can capture this. You can capture the signal before it's turned into a position. You can get the phase information, the carrier information from multiple locations. You can take that unprocessed information and work out your location at a later time. And this can be done. You can do it. You can have someone 5,000 Ks away. They can capture the same signal from the same satellite and get the same information, right? They'll get a different Doppler shift because they're in a different place. But at the end of the day, you turn all those things into an ECF coordinate, and that coordinate system that you're plotting your points on that shows the curvature.
So the timing signals are line of sight. There doesn't show any curvature. Like this is trilateration.
Individual.
Well, hold on a second. The trilateration GPS is line of sight propagation. And based off timing, there's no curvature involved. You could live on a triangle, rectangle, dodecahedron, doesn't matter. That doesn't reveal anything about
absolutely.
Curve.
But it does give you a position relative to the.
Exactly. Well, that's what we've been talking about, right? Keeping the coordinate system relative to that. How do you fit those measurements on there? Well, you throw a little SAGNet correction on there, plus or minus 3% of the speed of light. And dude, that's insane. So on top of that, though, some lads in the 1995, Wolf and Pettit went to the GPS station in Colorado and analyzed what they thought were raw data signals to see if the speed of light was isotropic. And what they found was that there was already a SAGNet correction in it, and they misappropriated it and called it a Doppler shift. But that's beside the point. The data set was already corrected, and then they overlooked that because the SAGNet effect isn't a second order Doppler shift. It's a first order effect. So it's not a little tiny minuscule. Anyway, the point being, though, data set was already corrected. And then based off of the correction, they were like, oh, look, the speed of light is the same. But it's actually not. Like that timing varies based on the observer's or based on the receiver's velocity, irrespective of that motion. So,
like I said, I'm not in a position to comment about the ins and outs of special relativity. It seems that even experienced physicists have trouble with this, and so I'm not even going to go there. Yeah. The fact of the matter is that even so, as a receiver of GPS signals, the only thing you have to deal with relativistically is the time, and that is already baked into the clock, right? So you can ignore all of those other things. You're talking about 3%. I'm not sure where that comes from. My understanding, it's you're talking about a few nanoseconds, tens or maybe 100 meters at the end of the day in the difference in the position fix. But the reality is that if any of those satellites aren't where they say they are and the time of flight doesn't line up, you will not get a fix. And you get enough fixes and progress around, the fixes form a sphere. And that's sort of the key. For me, that's the key thing, that spoofing almost impossible, and your position relative to the rest of the satellites clearly demonstrates the curvature of the surface.
Oh, right. So it's a coordinate system, graticule reification thing. But
hold on a
No,
second.
it's no
Hold on a
graticule,
second.
Shane. It's a Cartesian coordinate system.
Well, hold on a second. So if you're going to use GPS as a curvature argument somehow, right, then you would have to invoke latitude-dependent equigravitational potential corrections, right? Which don't exist.
No, they're not significant. They're not significant enough. You can get a first order approximation without that.
One second. When you say they're not significant enough, right? They say that if they don't account for the Sagnac effect, they'll be off by 30 meters. And the correction that they make for that, is not, like you said, it's not 3%. I was wrong on that. It's definitely not 3%, but it's, I'll have to go look at the numbers again, but it's definitely not 3%. But anyway, but just from that 30%, right? And then further, right? At 30
meters. Yeah.
Yeah. And then further, right? At 70 feet and 75 feet, there's different gravitational potentials, right? If that frequency shift happens and that's not accounted for, you're going to be off, right? So it is going to be significant, dude, because the gravitational potential between the satellite and the receiver at the zenith and the receiver that's getting it away from the satellite at that different gravitational potential, it's going to just be, as it gets further away from that original position, dude, it's going to what's it called? Go up exponentially.
Drift or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not
exponentially, but yeah. The thing is, right?
Listen. They say that it's so strong that your physical plumb bob has to be corrected, bro. So the frequency shift in light, it's mandatory. It has to be. It can't pull your plumb bob and not pull on your GPS signal. And by pull,
how much does it pull the plumb bob?
And by
not much, right? It's
a couple of arc minutes. That's hugely significant. If you were to put that down on frequency of vibrations,
field, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't have it account for a plumb bob deviation and not for a frequency shift in light. It's just not tenable.
So that's two different things, right? The shift in the plumb bob and the gravitational redshift is got different impacts.
So
the gravitational redshift is about EM propagation through a gravitational field,
right?
And the plumb bob is about the vector of gravity
through the gradient of the gravitational field, right? So when they say that that there's an anomaly in the field and they have to change their apparatus such, right, to account for that to be perpendicular with it, then that anomaly in that area is going to throw off like the magnitude of like in that area at that latitude. So you're going to have to So when GPS came around, what would have happened was they would have had to, they would have been off, and then they would have had to go to every latitude and make corrections and figure that out. And it would have corresponded exactly to their geoid ellipsoid model that they tell us all that we live on, right? We would see the same amplitude and corrections that would correspond to, like the map that they give us where it's, where it's the strongest and the anomalies and stuff. So it doesn't exist. It would have to. You can't physically tilt your device and not have the frequency and light change. It's not tenable to that magnitude.
Yeah, I think we'll have to agree to disagree on that one. But the fact of the matter is that you can use uncorrected GPS signals to get a fix within 50 to 60 meters just by using first order approximation of your position and time. And you can see this if you've got Android devices. You can capture the GPS navigation message and phase information before it gets turned into a coordinate fix. And if you do a raw least squares solution on the distance and position information, you'll be around within 30 to 50 meters of your true position. And if you then apply all of the post-processing corrections that GPS receivers do, you'll get down to the normal position you get, which is 2 meters for most good devices.
So, how does it tell you your orientation? Like,
What do you mean by
you said it
orientation,
through curvature,
Indy?
like what way you're pointed.
Yeah, so an individual fix doesn't prove curvature, other than it gives you a radius value every single time, because you're sharing a common, your coordinate system is in common with the satellite's center of orbit, right? That's the origin. But if you plot your track across the surface of water in particular, those points will form the surface of the sphere.
Right. So when I said the graticule, right, it's because we're within the longitude lat.
No, Shane, that's incorrect. Those coordinates are in Cartesian form. There's no graticule involved. It's a Cartesian coordinate system.
So it's a coordinate system tied to nothing and no one, and just number lines in space with no relative tied to anything. Is that what you're saying?
It's tied to the center of the Earth.
Oh, so it's tied
or
to
center
a
of
datum.
mass of the Earth.
Right. So a coordinate system.
It's not, well, you have a datum, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, it can't be without a datum. So it's got a geodesic datum in there. So what? I mean, I'm not saying that. You know, it does.
No,
So
no. It has an origin. Yeah. That's all you need. An origin and 3 orientations.
Yeah, but an Earth-centered, Earth-fixed coordinate system tied to nothing doesn't mean anything. When you say the center of Earth, it's like, yeah, but that means that you have a longitude, latitude gridded network called a graticule.
No,
things to, but it absolutely
you don't need that long at all in GPS. It's only there to convert it to other projections and graticules. So the raw GPS coordinates are in that ECF frame. XYZ coordinates. XYZ is all you need. And because that's how the satellites describe their position as well. So the satellites naturally orbit the center of mass, right? That's the assumption I'm making, I guess.
X, Y, and Z of what, though? Is it not within the ECEF? Is that not what that is?
Yeah, so the XYZ coordinate frame is centered on the center of mass of Earth, with the Z-axis on the axis of rotation of the Earth. And I think for convention, X or Y is, through Greenwich. So that's the 3 orthogonal axes that are the ECF coordinate frame, right?
Yeah, galactic, geocentric, geographic, ecliptic. These are all coordinate systems based on the same thing that you just said. So you'd say that you can have it without this, but you live within this. So no.
But the ECF frame for GPS is centered on the center of, you could say it's on the center of mass of the Earth, but it's also on the center of the orbital path of the satellites. So that's the common, that is the reference point for GPS location.
I mean, to be fair, I think this is what holds up most people in this argument. And I think what his position was when we started is most people. Look, I don't give a shit about relativity and stagnant corrections, but I know that this GPS shows me where I am on Google Earth, essentially, right? Like I can put the satellite. I mean, that's not a bad argument. It's just hard for us to argue against that because it's a lot of education required.
Yo, well, let's start with the mass around the ball, right? So you want to go over the derivation for big G, Shane?
Oh yeah,
if you have that. So
I've seen this too.
Well, no. We've got
happy to discuss it.
Yeah, we've got that new. So go ahead, Shane.
Well, when you say you've seen this, how recently have you seen it?
I don't know. In the last few weeks, I would have seen it go past again, probably. But
like not 2 hours ago, then.
No.
Yeah, right. So yeah, we put it together. I think big G derived, let's see, based on Newton's law of gravitation, but then you have switching out of little a and little g, right? Because you have the downward acceleration 9.8 meters a second squared. So start with like say F equals G over M1 over M2 over R squared, and then what you set up your comparison for the masses of M1, right? You got a torsion balance. You got to measure the torsion, the torque, right? What T equals FD. To derive G equals M1, M2 over T over R squared to give you something like, so the torque T would be related to the force T equals FD, and then T would be K prime. So then G big G would just be K prime times R squared of M1 of M2 times D, leaving it G derived as M1 over M2 over D of K prime, which would be R squared. So then literally just by theta, radius, distance, and the angle of that torsion, we can derive back to our constant G to get the 6.85, whatever it is, whatever the actual constant is. But that's where that comes from. It's the weight and the mass and the weight formula being changed out algebraically. That's it.
So I'm assuming that was just a verbal. Because I'm new to this X space thing. I'm not sure if I could actually see anything when you were speaking then, or is there?
Scroll up to the top and get your left arrow on, so the white dot goes all the way to the left, and hit the one titled Flat GPT posted by Shane 2 hours ago.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
There's a walkthrough. But like, so yeah, that was the whole point of Cavendish, and like to prove the gravitational constant, which is based on a density, which means they didn't actually prove it at all, right? They indirectly inferred it, which is the whole argument that we have against it, when they're like, we know for sure that we've derived big G, and it's like, well, no, you measured torsion and a bunch of forces, and you asserted that what must be left is the force, which is crazy.
So I'm confused. So just flick through that. So like you've said, you've basically described how they used something like the Cavendish experiment to derive big G.
Based on little G in
constants. So the purpose there, though, was to show how they, once you establish the constants, right, they applied those to the sky. That was what they immediately did afterwards, right? Once they had a big G and a big M for the sun, for the Earth, and for G for the constant, right? They immediately applied the Kepler's laws and Newton, and interjecting Newton stuff in there so that they could get the mass off of those constants, and they applied it to the sun. And then they were like, boom, now we got the mass of the sun, because it's just algebra, right? They just reverse engineered what it would be off of the periodicity as a ratio of the two constants derived from Cavendish, which is just a ratio of downward acceleration, right? 9.8 meters per second squared, right? With no actual weighing of the Earth. And they applied that to all of cosmology and said that the things in the sky move because mass is attracting mass, and based off of that angle measured in Cavendish, right? And then the boys got together with interferometers and started measuring velocities. And they're like, oh, we can measure translational velocity. We can measure rotational. We can measure it all. It's all good. And then they're like, hey, what would be crazy? If we tried to measure the old Earth through the cosmos, since we, applied all of our, all these derivations to it and told everyone that this is how it works. And they had no velocity component for the Earth. They measured nothing for the Earth that would correspond to 30 kilometers a second, which was mandatory based off of the dynamics of all the mass that they interjected everywhere to make their predictions. So there's supposed to be a 30 kilometer velocity in there somewhere. And then everything after that was coming up with explanations as to why you can't measure the motion, et cetera, which we don't have to get into. But the point, though, was the history on constants and ratios of constants, right? Because now when we look at satellites and they say, oh, this satellite's, XYZ in orbit, it's at 20,000 feet out, or 20,000 kilometer altitude, et cetera, and this is all based off of big G and Newton's orbital mechanics, et cetera. And it's like, dude, with scale invariance, if it's in orbit due to another mechanism, right, electrostatics or what have you, and it's closer and it's just moving slower, you would not know the difference. You would have the same output and technology, the same coordinate systems, the same raw GPS data that would be referenced in the same graticule where you're like, oh, I'm only 30% off the grady, or 30 feet off the grady. It's, dude, it would work the exact same, and it would be based off of it wouldn't be based off of rotating. It wouldn't be based off of the center of a ball, right? That's a mathematical construct that's been given to us as a dynamic explanation as to why things in the sky move, and that's never been experimentally shown to be true. All that anyone's ever shown is that things fall down, and you could derive 9.8 meters per second kinematically off of that.
Boom.
Or calculate it, not derive it. It's you're calculating G, you're not deriving G. But so I'm not a little unsure about the scale invariance thing, because there's some things that are not linear there, right? So because I've seen the argument around angular size, and shrink it all down, shrink it all up, everything remains the same, but the mass of the bodies doesn't scale with their angular size.
Oh, do you
there's a
the
cubic
mass
function there,
the
right?
mass of what bodies?
The sun and the planets.
What's that, meow?
Sorry, you're breaking up there. What was that?
What was your argument about the masses being different? What? They don't. Nobody knows what their masses are. Their masses are derived off of periodicity and constants.
Yeah, but you're talking about the scale invariance of the relationships, and that scale invariance breaks when you include mass as a function of apparent size. That there's a
who's doing that?
Doing the scale invariance thing, or
no, who's including mass? The mass cancels out in these equations. Even if you apply
if you make some assumptions, right?
No.
So Kepler's law, you only cancel out the mass of the other planets because the sun's big in relationship, and you assume that they're orbiting the center of mass. Same with satellites, right? That you don't have to consider the mass of the satellite in the equation.
I think there's a misconception of what's going on here. The masses are individually derived or calculated as an output of the periodicity of their event. So it doesn't, there's no mass to be included. Like it's literally not needed to derive any of it. So you could apply Kepler's laws to a satellite in orbit and get the same, assuming the same speeds, right? You would get the same orbital diameter. But if it was closer, it would just have a closer orbital diameter and be going slower. You just wouldn't know.
Yeah, that is assuming that there's a significant mass difference, right? One mass is significant.
No,
but if you derive Kepler's laws from Newton, right, you should retain M1 and M2.
Yo, they cancel out. You don't need them, and when they try to put them back, it gives them a decimal point. Yeah, dude. No, you go ahead.
No, they only cancel out when you make the assumption that M1 is insignificant compared to M2. Otherwise, in Kepler's law, that constant you get includes G times M1 plus M2, right? But you can make the simplification that because M2 is insignificant compared to M1, that you can drop the other mass. That's the only reason you can cancel it.
Yeah.
And the other reason you cancel it in that initial thing is because you're assuming that the orbit is around the center of mass. So that's why you can use the centripetal force versus gravitational in that equivalence, right? And if you don't assume that, if you assume that they're orbiting around a barycenter, both masses get retained in the relationship.
Well, nobody... Go ahead, Shane.
And you have to do that to make sure that you increase the accuracy of the prediction of Jupiter's moon to which decimal place, and then not to do that, you'd get the same prediction to the accuracy of which decimal place. Do you know?
No, I don't.
It's the same. It's the same decimal place. Literally, it's no different. So
yeah, that's right. So the fact that the assumption is correct doesn't mean.
Hold on a sec. There's still no mass involved, never was, right? It started with a backwards derivation of force of how much a torsion beam is twisting, right? And then they applied periodicities to events where mass still canceled out, and then they just backwards interjected it for what it would be to cause that event, right? So still no mass, right? And then they're just applying it to other things. And then as Shane just pointed out, right, when you interject the mass back in, it doesn't even change the decimal places of accuracy. It's completely irrelevant, right? There is
highly negligible.
The idea that it's required is completely, it's not there. It's not in the math, so to speak, right? Because in addition to that,
it's in the math.
It can be in the math, and it's pretty much irrelevant. It would make no.
That's right.
It would make no difference. So I wouldn't.
That's
so
right.
So to hinge your
second
argument
or third
on
order effect.
Yeah. So how do you know all that and you still have that position? You seem to agree a lot, man.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, right? So you do that derivation. You make the simplification that the second mass is insignificant, and it turns out that it is in observed measurements, right? So that's cool. It means your assumption's valid.
And so was the first mass.
The same then applies to the satellite orbit, right? That the orbital parameters there aren't really impacted by that either, and you can just do the same calculation for the orbital velocity without having to worry about both masses.
I wasn't following. What happened?
So he said that if you don't calculate the mass, you can just apply Kepler's laws, essentially. Is that what he said?
So his position is our position?
Dude, I mean, that's what it sounds like.
No, you're misinterpreting my position.
Sorry?
So you're saying that the mass doesn't matter. I'm saying that mathematically, the ratio of masses means that the smaller mass doesn't matter, that they're so small in comparison to the main one, right?
Well, this brings us back to the ratio of the constant, right? So it doesn't matter about if anyone's ever actually weighed the Earth, right? It's just about having a constant established, and then everything will be a ratio of that accordingly, right? So what they did with Cavendish, now that the angle that they got for that, super tight angle. Now they do modern renditions of it, they do it in the classroom, etc. They get measurements that exceed that all the time, right? They throw those out because they already have, what it is, what we know, we've been to the moon, so it has to be this value. So they'll look for it to be that, like, because there is some apparent oscillation to it, right? Otherwise there wouldn't be a measurement to be made. But that measurement that they get, when it exceeds that, they just ignore it. And then when they get it, they're like, oh, look, we found Cavendish. Now, the causal mechanism of it could be whatever, right? Now, if it was mass attracting mass, that would have been substantiated in interferometry with Newton, right? That's why they had to redefine all the physics over this stuff. Because they literally, I mean, I'm sure that I could see the hubris of them establishing constants and then doing ratios of that to explain things and having units of measurement based off of that, and then just freaking out and going, oh my God, boys, we weighed the Earth, we weighed the sky, like just going ham with it. Because it's crazy. I mean, they literally think they weighed the Earth off of that, right? And then they tried to measure the resultant velocity of that, and it just wasn't there, bro, consistently.
Dude, Kepler's third law from Newton modified is the one and only way that anyone in this world can pretend to derive the mass of stellar objects. What we just went through, the derivation of Kepler's law in Newton, that little algebraic trick is the only way people pretend to know the masses of stars. Just saying.
But you've got to have some sort of relationship, right?
And then when
I like how you're like,
yes, exactly, bro. You have to have those constants.
Planets,
dude.
You can't measure the radius of the Earth, right? You can only calculate it.
He's already on board, boys. Exactly.
One of us I knew.
So none of this changes the fact that GPS satellite orbits are physically what they claim to be.
Well, hold on.
Distance-wise, right?
No, it does explicitly, right? Because of the scale invariance and that mass relationship, right? That's never been substantiated, right? The mass of the Earth and the mass of the
propagation of light is not scale invariant.
Hold on one sec, brother. They would send it with offsets for the Doppler shift. You would never know, dog. You think they're going to send something where you could backwards derive anything from it? Like, come on.
So if I have a GPS signal arriving to me with a special Doppler shift just for me, how do they Doppler shift it for the guy 500 meters to the right, 1,000 meters to the right, 1,500 kilometers to the right? They can't Doppler shift the signal for everybody, right?
Why would it be just for you? It would be the baseline that they send out, and then everyone would get theirs accordingly.
So the signal that I receive is Doppler shifted, right? Based on the speed of the satellite. The Doppler shift for everybody that observes that satellite will be different based on where they are relative to the satellite's path.
Yes, and if the signal's already offset, how is there going to be a discrepancy between their measurements and yours?
What do you mean by offset?
So for the way that they can do Doppler and GPS is it's just like they just send out multiple pulses. So they would just send it with an offset to their pulsation time. And then when everyone gets their signal, they're like, oh, look, it started from XYZ, right?
So the GPS signal comes in, you find it out of the noise with autocorrelation. So you end up with a local clock that is synchronized with the radio signal from the GPS. And it's the frequency shift in that local clock compared to the transmit clock that you use to measure Doppler. That means the frequency of the signal that everybody receives must be unique to each individual if they are manipulating the Doppler to make you think the satellite is traveling at the speed that it is. And then on top of that, they've got to make sure that your calculated time of flight with the same identical signal works out for everybody as well. You can't do that. You can't have one transmitted signal, and you can prove they're the same signal because you can capture them independently, right? You can't have one transmitted signal, have two different Doppler shifts and different times of flight for individual receivers. You can't fake it without knowing where those individuals are and giving them their own special customized signal.
No, it's already offset, and then you would just have the timing from the signal sent to receiver to get your distance, man. Like it's like I don't know what to tell you beyond that.
So every signal transmission, right? So you get the navigation message, it's got a timestamp. You take the navigation message, you process it to work out the orbital parameters of the satellite. You then work out, use that, work out where the satellite was. You calculate the time of flight of the message to work out the distance, the pseudo range. You do this for 4 or 5 others or 6 others, and you use that to solve simultaneously XYZ coordinates for you, the time of flight, and time biases between you and the satellites. If you can capture that signal in another place, because the signal is common, right? Everybody gets the same signal. You will, you can't get a location fix to the precision you can get it if the signal is not correct.
Hey, I've got another theory that we can kind of discuss if there's nothing going on right now. Do we have any plans for the future or?
Actually, it's just after midnight my time, so I was about to punch out.
About to head out, Stone? Yeah, we could switch here in a second.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me
It's
wrap
been
up
fun,
with
y'all.
Darren.
Maybe we'll catch some of you guys tonight.
Thanks as always.
Yo, hey, see you then.
Peace, Stone. Catch you tomorrow, bro.
Do you guys believe in the moon though?
Yeah, one second, Todd. Yo, Darren,
No.
much appreciated for the conversation, bro. It was a great back and forth. Definitely giving me some additional things to look into, man.
No dramas.
Yeah,
Yeah, just remember, you can fake it for some of the people some of the time, but you can't fake it for all the people all the time. And that's the secret to GPS, right?
Hang on a second, Todd. Can you hear Darren speaking? Please mute your mic, please.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so I've got to wrap up too. But yeah, for me, GPS, the thing is that you can fake it for some of the people some of the time, but you can't fake it for everybody all of the time. And the raw data is available. You can get this on your phone. You can calculate a fix without any relativistic corrections, and you'll find it's a bit all over the shop. But when you apply the ionospheric correction that is transmitted with the signal, and do some other corrections, that you'll get down to the 2 meters that you see on your device. It's a very, very compelling argument from my perspective.
No, absolutely. That's why I have to dig deeper to take it from you. But no, I appreciate what you put forward though, man.
Yeah, you've done very little to dissuade me from my original position, and that you're a very reasonable person.
Thank you. It was all very cordial.
Yeah, dude, that's what we're about, man. We don't really care about the other shit. It's when people come in here and start trying to make it about that we get irritated. It's like we just want to talk and have a conversation. And they're like, yeah, but what about me? Mute? Oh, I got muted. It's like, no, we don't care. No one cares. Shut up. It's all right.
Yeah.
Who else?
All right, so Todd, I think, was up next. What's up, Todd?
Todd feels like a troll, or Ted. Todd.
Yeah.
He asked if we believe in the moon. I told him no. I think it's fake, personally.
Fake moons. We got
Sorry, I
one
missed that.
fake mooner.
What's going on? My turn?
Oh, yeah. What's up, brother?
Yeah, like, do we believe in the moon?
Define believing
Are you
the
serious? Because,
moon.
like, it could be a projection, is what I was thinking, because it makes the most sense with the Earth being flat and all that, because
But it would still be
it can't
called
spin
the
around.
moon, right? Even if it was, but even if it was a projection, we
Yeah,
still
yeah, but
see it,
like,
we would call it the moon.
I agree. It's called the moon,
What's to
but
believe in?
I don't think it's a rock in space.
Exactly.
No, I know we can see the moon. I just don't think it's a rock.
What side are you on there, Todd?
Why are you asking if we believe in it?
No, I just like wondering, like, what do we think of the moon situation?
I don't look too much
Don't
into
care.
trying to figure out what the celestial bodies are, to be honest with you, man. I think that's something that's
For the half hours.
No, it's like that's what's led mainstream science down such a fucked up path, man. If you get a chance, go to YouTube, go to Sky Scholar, and search Professor Dave, and you'll see Marie Robitaille's video on solar spectroscopy. And all the dude, they when they look at the stars and do spectroscopy, they've never even seen anything like that in a lab before. And what they have to do to try and make the emission lines what they want to be is insane. It's a whole situation over there trying to quantify the sun as a physical. Can you mute your mic, please? It's echoing through. It's a whole thing to try and get to try and add physical properties to it to even like make it a ball of helium and all that stuff. So I don't think that we'll be able to tell what those things are actually made of, but I don't think that they're physical objects, though. I do think that they are projections, and I think that they do lend themselves to spheres, especially the sun, since you can measure sunspots that go in a rotation around it takes 27 days, I think, for them to complete a rotation, and that's pretty compelling that that it actually has sphericity to it, and it isn't just a flat disk.
Yeah, okay, all right. Thanks for the answer. That's helpful.
No worries,
I've seen a
lad.
sunspot video where the sunspots traveled vertically.
No shit.
They went from the
Dude.
bottom to the top.
Yeah, the thing about sunspot tracking is that they always fucking change. Definitely a troll. We knew it. There we go.
It amazes me, dude. Like, they're probably all laughing, like giving each other pats on the back over that. But it's so low tier.
Dude, you did it. You annoyed people on the internet for 6 seconds.
Yelled into my mic. Har.
You annoyed him for 8. You got him that time, bud. Next time it'll be 9 seconds. We're getting so good at this. But dude, that was a good walkthrough of the derivation of G, big constant, GPS, satellites, how little G applies. Dude, that was all fantastic.
Yeah, man, that's my new go-to for that.
Well, I want to dispute what he said about GPS spoofing being hard. It's not hard.
Oh, dude, it only applies to a couple people.
I can get the equipment to do it. Yeah,
I'm still
I can
here,
do
so
it
I'm happy to
myself if the
continue.
Radio Shack still existed. Well, I mean, you could just literally you can search it up. It's easy to do. You can buy like a $300 piece of equipment and do it. It's not hard. You characterizing it as hard is just. What do we?
So what do you mean by
hard
this,
to,
Indy?
It's not hard to spoof GPS. So Iran, right? They stole a drone. You know how they stole the drone? They spoofed GPS. They got it to land at their fucking airport. How'd they do that?
Yeah, by knowing where the drone was and slowly taking over its GPS. So you have to inject fake GPS signals over time. So if the GPS has already got a fix, right, it won't just automatically accept your signal. You have to get your signal in phase with the one that's coming from the satellite so that you can then increase the amplitude of your signal to override the autocorrelated data that gets extracted out. And then you can begin to slew the signals so that the thing moves. You've got to do it for all of the satellites that the other receiver is getting. Yeah, it's a pretty.
They don't. They just jam it, right? They just jam.
Oh, that's jamming,
jam all
right?
the
No,
satellites.
jamming and spoofing are different things.
They jam it by spoof. No, well, they jam it by having their signal way stronger than any possible satellite signal, right? So it technically can't see the satellites. All it can see is the spoofed locations.
Yeah, that's
so what
it.
they
Yeah,
did
yeah. But you've got to
was
do that very
it was
carefully
being
and over
remote
time, right?
controlled.
Otherwise, it'll.
Well, no, it was being remote controlled. They jammed that signal, right? So the thing had a home function where it would just fly home when it lost the remote control signal. And they spoofed like home was their airport.
But they've got to shoot it. The signal's got to be going directly to that thing and then targeting it at its location. Otherwise, it won't have a clue what's going on. So you can't spoof it to large areas and large numbers of people.
You might not know about. Well, just let me tell you, like, there was a company called Light Squared. This was back like in the 2000s. So there was this hedge fund guy. He became a billionaire, and then he was going to start an internet freaking satellite company called Light Squared. He bought the GPS bandwidth. I don't know if you remember this. I don't know how old you are. So he bought the GPS bandwidth, the frequency. They sold it to him because GPS is using it unlicensed. So he bought it, right? The FCC back then they went and they sold a whole bunch of freaking radio bands that previously no one owned. So they sold them off. This guy bought the GPS band, and he was going to set up this company called Light Squared, and he set up towers. He was going to have towers, and it was going to be the towers connected to a satellite, but the transmission signals were going to be the GPS frequency. Well, all the GPS companies were like, fuck that shit. You're going to jam our signal. And all they had to do was put a filter in all the new GPS devices and all the old GPS devices. And they successfully lobbied and gave donations and all the fuckery that happens when it comes to politics. And basically got it killed. Got FAA to do something they never did before, just take someone's license back for no reason. And good thing he was a billionaire because he invested something like $1 billion. You think he was a $4 billionaire, and he invested something like $1.5 billion into it, and they basically made him waste his money. But the point is that GPS signals are so weak relative to anything else that they're easy to jam.
But the thing about Light Squared, right, was that they were going to be using terrestrial transmission, I believe. And so those those transmission points on terrestrial towers would have to broadcast their location precisely as part of the message, right? Which means that you know where the towers are. So same deal. If the towers aren't where they say they are, you won't be able to converge onto a fix. That's the fundamental nature of GPS, is that the beacon that's transmitted, if it doesn't line up in space where it says it is, and the distance from it to you is not where it should be, it won't be able to be used in your fix, and it'll be rejected as an anomalous signal. So Light Squared had to, they were just kind of like local GPS transmission, hoping that they could give you better accuracy from a terrestrial solution.
No, they were gonna do internet. They weren't providing GPS. They were doing internet from towers.
Oh, internet.
It was going to be
they were doing GPS.
No, they were going to do it. They bought the.
So that'll just blow away the signal to noise ratio of GPS. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Interference.
It was going to be what you call interference is the same thing as jamming. I mean, there's no technical difference.
Yeah, that's right. Because GPS is basically pulled out of the noise. Without autocorrelation, you can't even see it. You can't see the carrier. You can't see anything. It relies on you effectively knowing what the transmission pattern is and getting synchronized with it.
Yeah, see what you do, you just make your own GPS signal and just blast it, with a fucking 1,000-watt transmitter, and watch everybody's GPS die.
Yeah, you can jam it, no dramas. Yeah.
Yo, what's up, D3?
Hey, what's up, everybody? I was just gonna say I wanted to ask about what you guys were talking about before with the GPS signal and what the the difference was you guys were almost to like the bottom of it, I feel like, but there was like a point where it just kind of, maybe you guys were kind of talking past each other a little bit.
Yeah. So the GPS, it's sending out coordinates and timing where, where it's at when it's sending the signal, right? So if it's sending a false location, it's all going to triangulate proportional from scale and variance. And that's it, really.
Okay, so
it's already
not sending out like
you-
an individual. It's sending it out mass, and it's all gonna update, like you said, at the same time, basically,
everyone
or
that
in the
gets
same
the-
way.
everyone that gets their signal, it's going to be like fine, right? Because it's already sent offset. So
got you. Okay, that's kind of like that's really the point that I was after. Thanks.
You still haven't described this offset, Alan. I'm a bit confused what the offset is and why it's individualized.
Well, you keep saying individualized, but it's not, because it's coming from the GPS. It's what it's emitting for everybody. So like you taking it to an individualized spot. Like, I don't know why you keep doing that, but like,
Well, the reason I keep doing it is that if I receive the signal, calculate the satellite's position, work out the distance between me and the satellite based on time of flight, and somebody else receives the same signal in a different location, it can only give them the time of flight based on their position relative to the satellite.
you're
and those
acting
positions are absolute.
You're acting like it's going to be a different one, right? So we agree.
Their distance will be different.
Agreed. And how, like, what are you determining off of that to say that that if it was already offset, that it would be, that it would only appear for one person and not the other, bro? Like, of course it's going to work out proportional to both of them.
Yeah. So they both get the same relative position compared to the satellite. So if you're, say, for example, if the satellite is 10,000 kilometers from me, based on time of flight, if there's somebody between me and the satellite 5,000 kilometers closer, their time of flight measurement will show it as being 5,000 kilometers closer. And we'll both agree where the satellite is in space and time.
Agreed that you will receive coordinates from the satellite at a particular time that's telling you it's at a specific location. Is it truly at said location?
What's happening?
It needs to be. If it's not at that location, then one or both of us will get a different opinion based on time of flight as to where it actually is.
Nah, you're not, though, right? You're going to get it individual to you, right? But it's still going to be coming from the same source. So it's going to give you the same, you're going to be able to backwards derive it based off of the information that it gave you when it's sent to you. But it's already sending you not real coordinates for where it's at. It's just the timing, right? And distance, right? And then that gets imported to the old Grady, the corrections, etc. And boom, you're on the Grady, right? And without the corrections, you're a little off the Grady.
So, first of all,
right?
within
30 meters, yeah, because without it, you're still within 30 meters, as you said earlier, right?
So yeah, but if the satellite's not where it is, I'm looking at 5 satellites. They're all telling me where they are and what time it is. I get their signals, do the trilateration, and work out where I am in 3D space relative to the satellites. If that timing and position is not coherent, I won't be able to get my fix. And it's coherent simultaneously for everybody that can see those satellites.
This is the last time I'm going to say it, and then you can close on it. It's already sent with that. It'll all work out proportional. Go ahead and close.
I still don't understand why work out proportional.
Well, can I
but it's a
quote
fixed.
Wolf and put it real quick then?
Go ahead.
Go for it.
The people who first did it, they were like, hey, they noted that the data set they analyzed had been pre-processed, which is, again, this is the raw data that you're talking about, and corrected for Sagnac effect. In this case, a first order change in the time of flight of radio signals between satellites and receivers, and justified making this correction by claiming that the Sagnac effect was a relativistic effect, right? And that it was second order in C, and therefore that the correction had negligible consequences in the analysis. But important part here is the raw data you're calling raw is pre-corrected for the Sagnac effect. So then when it's in the ECF, in your X, Y, and Z, right? And then you have it applied to a datum to get where you are in real time, boom, right there is the pre-correction applied. So.
No, I've read that paper, and it's not clear what this raw data is and how it was pre-corrected. So the raw data I'm talking about
timing
is the signal
corrections
immediately. Yeah. So there's timing corrections baked into the clock on the satellite, right? But that doesn't change the fact here that the clock is the same for everybody, right? They all get the same timestamp in their messages. That clock time is skewed or adjusted based on there's three components to its adjustment, two relativistic ones, and I think Sagnac's the other one. But in any case, you get a clock in the satellite that is not ticking at the same rate as a clock on Earth, or it's made to tick at the same rate as a clock on Earth. But that doesn't change the fact that without applying any other relativistic corrections, you can get a fix to within, say, 50 or 60 meters just by calculating time of flight of the signal.
Based off of a coordinate system that it's sent with when it sends the signal for the timing, right? And that's why it'll all be proportional. That's
it.
All right. Glad we're slightly in agreement.
Yeah. The only thing we disagree on, I think, is that the distances
What I
inside that
hear is a
coordinate
lot
system,
of Alan and Shane giving out answers, and Rue is a lot of denial.
Oh, you thought it was Ruhiv too? Yeah, no, this is our new friend.
Yeah, it's a lot of denial here going on. I hear it. I've heard it the last fucking hour. It's crazy. I'm drunk as fuck, and all I've heard is denial.
Yeah,
it's fucking crazy.
You're mistaking denial for facts. So
No, I am not mistaking anything, Ruiz. You are denied. You want to accept the globe for what they perpetrate it to be, for what the narrative says it is, and it's not. These guys are giving you facts. These guys have done research. These guys have done hours into their lives on this shit, and you're denying it on the spot. It's fucking insane.
What makes you think I haven't spent hours researching this as well?
I believe that you spent less hours than they have. You're trying to keep up with them, but you cannot.
Well, I'll admit I can't keep up to them when they start to talk about relativity, but I know that we don't need to talk about
what
relativity.
You want is to accept the narrative. You want to accept the narrative. You want to accept the globe idea. And the facts are that reality does not comport with the globe. It does not at all. We do not we see beyond what we can see. We calculate beyond what we can calculate. The globe does not comport with reality at all. You want to accept it, but you cannot. That's what I'm hearing now. I hear it. I'm listening for fucking hours, and that's all I hear.
We do want Darren to come back, though, so we don't want to berate him too hard.
Yeah, I do have to go now for sure.
I get it. I accept him. I like him because he challenges you guys, but he accepts the narrative so fucking much.
Yeah.
Okay, bye, Ruhiv.
Yeah, I'll go.
Right.
Just remember, scale invariance is broken when you have a fixed length. That's why the meter is so important.
We will talk about it soon, I'm sure.
Bro, I'm in Mexico right now. I traveled from the U.S. to Mexico, and the world is fucking flat. The world does not rotate. The world does not move. The world does not fucking curve. I have seen it with my own eyes. I've been on a boat. I've been on a plane. I've been on the ocean. This whole fucking vacation, the last 4 days I've been out here. Sorry, the world is not a globe. It will never be. It has never been. That's it. End of story.
Yeah, Darren, I appreciate what you're talking about, though. I think it's a valid point to bring up and to argue for. So uh, I appreciate that. I thought it was a very good build between everybody there.
What else you guys want to talk about? Who else is here? Anyone have any
see my boy
mind-blowing
Mister?
glow proof? Oh yeah. We
I
got
have a
some
question,
questions.
not really proof, but question for you.
Is it about where my Cash App is?
Hey, my
No, I got that already. I'll send that over later.
Okay.
Just got paid, so.
sorry, yeah, paid. I fucking feel that, dude. So what's up, guys? How you guys?
Zach, are you a troll? Did you just come into my tea shop?
Actually not. So,
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm positive.
All right. Well, I believe you. You sound legit. What's up?
Okay, so what's up with you?
Definitely a troll. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, you said what's up? Maybe I'm not good at answering questions like that.
Thanks for participating. That was fun. Who else?
Where's our boy Mister at, dog?
How come we can't get him up here? Hold on.
I tried to give Liliana an invite. We got Dark Toby.
Dark Toby should definitely be his name.
Dark Toby.
Is that not
So,
his
yeah, I
name?
mean, there's
I'll
some
trigger
talk
to
about like the GPS being essentially like the satellites being closer and moving at a slower speed, right? Am I describing that correctly? Like that's how you conceive of how it works.
Yep.
Have you done the math to like map out what the cloud, like the constellation of satellites, would look like in such a scenario?
Nope.
Okay, that was my only question.
Is this one of the
I just think that would be a cool thing
that you have that you can show us? Didn't you like start this whole engagement with us by telling us all this data that you were going to give Witsit access to for him to analyze the thing that you saw?
Yeah, I mean, I messaged Witsit about the CMB. He hasn't gotten back to me. If he wants it, I'll provide it to him.
I mean, I like data. Can I have some data?
Let's find out if it's public. Let's take a look.
Damn, homie made all these promises that one night.
Were you gonna give Witsit non-public data?
And didn't even look at it, dog.
No,
Yikes.
I told Witsit is I'd provide a server for him to analyze the CMB data on. If you're interested in that,
right,
offer still stands.
That is what you said. That's correct.
Yeah. See,
That's
legacy archive for macrowave background data analysis. Yeah, it looks like it's public.
The satellite map sounds pretty cool. How would you go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the guy who was just in here said least squares off of the raw data. But you would just take a different set of assumptions on distance and speed, right? I'd have to think about it a bit more. But I mean,
Yeah, that would be a
right,
cool
if you
model
could
to
make it
look
work.
at.
Well, I could take a look at that. Potentially. Keep adding shit to my list. But yeah, that was my only question, really. Like, I just
Why,
it would be cool
why
to
are you
see.
so
Like,
different in text chat, Lucas?
Yeah, dog. That's why I
Why?
don't trust you, man. Why can't you just freaking
so
normal, dog?
suspicious for you to act normal.
It's freaking me. It's making me want to shoot you just for like the suspicion,
I
right?
feel like
'Cause
I'm
I-
getting set up just because you're here.
well, it's a performance art piece that I'm calling The Duality of Man. No, but in all, yeah, no. In all honesty, I just enjoy trolling, so that's that.
All right. Yes, beware the memes.
Yeah, I mean, you've certainly won every round that we've had. So
fist bump.
Your self-awareness makes me like you, yet your text chat behavior makes me despise you. I'm very conflicted.
That is the duality of man, bro.
Exactly, bro.
He captured it.
Alan, I'm excited for that event too, the relativity one. Do you want to talk more about the? We had that conversation, which got kind of heated, but do you want to talk about the like historical record and that kind of thing? Like, I'm interested in like what the. So one thing I'm really interested in, and I've talked to a lot of people at EA about it, is it seems like there's, and you kind of mentioned this earlier with regards to like the when this idea of the globe model became, you know, the thing. And I'm just wondering like what your process is for like reconstructing history, or like what you guys kind of see as like if there's all this deception and fabrication, like how do you know what's true or not?
Discernment.
Yeah, that's a rough question.
Discernment. Huh?
Yeah, like dude, yours like so the proper answer is to assume everyone is lying and do your own determination from the spot, no matter what source or where it is, and then you, based on your own discernment of just deciding what is congruent and fits, then you decide, right? And then also you recognize truth, right?
Yeah, I guess it's that last part, because like, so for me, and maybe this is a cognitive bias from my formal education, but I tend to rely on primary sources more. But like in the case of Ptolemy, for example, you know, certain things I will concede on, right? That
Who's that?
our earliest existing globe is
Who?
Huh?
Who?
Did you say Ptolemy?
Ptolemy? Am I saying it wrong?
There's a P in there somewhere.
Ptolemy? Is that
Ptolemy. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Now we know. Okay.
Yeah, the Egyptian guy.
So
I
read Almagest and sections of it, like especially book 1, section 4, which deals with sphericity of the Earth. But yeah, and the earliest surviving copy I think is from 900 CE, and so it is interesting that, you know, when we talk about like primary sources, it's often like not, is that even a thing, because it was recorded way after the fact. But yeah, I guess my process is I tend to rely more on the primary sources and what they say. But I just, yeah, as far as like discernment goes, I guess my only concern with that is just like, how do you validate your accuracy? Because like historical standards are set so that you can evaluate how accurate your narrative was against things like primary sources and direct evidence, right? And I'm not trying to just like dump on your thought process, but I just want to know like how you kind of validate your own way of knowing in that regard.
Knowing of what exactly, like how accurate you are in your assumption on things?
More so around historical narratives, because all history is a narrative, right? I mean, historians would tell you as much.
Why
I
the
don't
psychology?
Personally, I don't think we really can, because
it's a
it's
psychology
it's
question. That's why
so
I was like,
convoluted. That's just my take on it. I don't know what Alan and Shane feel.
Yeah,
this is a psychology question.
Yeah, for historical narratives, like I don't really put much into those. So like for the Almagest, for example, right? Like I put a link up earlier where some academic lads got together and were analyzing, you know, that book. And apparently the star catalog that he uses in it is fake because there's errors in it that are contained from a Hipparchus catalog that was also proven to be fake. And it could only contain it would only contain identical errors if it was just fake. So like when it comes to stuff like that, like who knows about like I don't put anything into it, man. I don't know nothing about nothing.
Okay, I got you. Yeah,
I can say from the standpoint of like the truth of history and what you say are like primary sources and things like that. I don't think we really know exactly how accurate even those things are, because when we look at architecture around the world, it tells a completely different story than what some of these primary sources would say. So yeah, I think history is a really tough thing to kind of really judge accuracy.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, Alan. Like, obviously, it was the other side of the duality that I was approaching it with then, but about like the history of like Einstein and as it pertains to Michelson-Morley and sort of the contradictory statements in his primary sources about the extent to which it influenced him, right? Like that's just kind of interesting to me as well. Like I'm trying to look into that more because it's odd, right? It's odd that he said one thing earlier in life and then later in life he says something along the lines of, well, I can't quite remember, but I'm not sure if it really influenced me at all.
Yeah, and I think if the story of him deriving his work and stuff was as told, as if he actually did it, I think he would remember that stuff and would have been honest about it. And I think that downplaying it later was an attempt to make Michelson-Morley seem insignificant.
Gotcha. And I guess, yeah, that was the thing that I was kind of getting at is like intent, right? And intent is probably the hardest thing to establish in a historical narrative. So do you feel like there was like the view that I've sort of heard from Austin, and I don't want to necessarily just describe it to you, is that there was sort of like a deliberate, concerted deception, and Einstein in some sense was an agent. Is that a fair statement of your read, or I don't want to strawman you, but
well, how responsible for the current political situation do you find Joe Biden?
Good question. I think
dude, well said. Exactly, dude. That's it.
I mean, he's fucked a lot of things up, that's for sure.
He hasn't done shit, dude. He's eating ice cream and told where to stand. Sometimes he farts, sometimes he falls off the stage. Nobody really cares. Doesn't matter, dude. Einstein in a nutshell.
I see. So who developed the theory behind relativity then? Was
other
it like
smarter
an
people
academy?
that he stole it from, lens contraction came from, like, yeah, dude, like.
I was gonna say the original equation, right, was for a Doppler for relative Doppler shift by Waldemar Voigt. So the way that he was doing the equation, he was using anyway. It's the same equation. I have to look at it. I don't know it off the top of my head, but he did something different with it, right? Where the relativists are like, oh, this is different than Voigt's equation. But if you multiply his variable instead of dividing it, it's literally the same as the Lorentz transformation. So it's
pulled the Newton algebraically, moved it around, was like, dun, 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 look, it's mine now.
Yeah, it's straight up identical. And then from that, let's see. So there was that guy with the original derivation for relative Doppler shift, which which was relative to an absolute space. And then Lorentz came along with Lorentz symmetry using the same equation to explain what was it? Why he was measuring an electron moving slower or whatever. I forget exactly what was going on, what he was doing, but for some reason he put forward the idea of link contraction and time dilation through the mechanism of a stationary ether frame. And then like using the identical mathematical framework that the Einstein would put forward in 1905. And Lorentz's theory was, I forget the year, but it was like in the late 1800s. Your mic's going off as I'm talking. If you could mute while talking, that'd be great. But yeah, then there was Poincare, who had something going on with that as well. And then I know Minkowski chimed in a lot for the general theory and kind of put forward that whole space-time geometry situation. So there was like a lot of contributing factors to it. And of course, there was the people that worked with Einstein. What was it? Herman something. And I forget the other gentleman's name. But yeah, there was like a little crew of lads, that would help out with him.
Like everything they claimed to have invented was just stolen from some other.
So if you want to get into some shit for real, because like I'm not like I'll just share it for everyone. But there was a guy that does his name is Christopher something, I can't pronounce it. It's one of those names. But anyway, he does it. He has the history of Einstein, like the entire history and everything, and that dude definitely makes a case for attributing benevolence to it. But anyway, apparently his wife, Malavia or whatever, I think that was his wife's name, was the one that was super into the math and stuff. And there was even a thing where when he was finally awarded the Nobel Prize and got some prize money, he ended up giving it all to her and stuff. There was a whole thing with that, but I don't know that whole narrative off the top of my head because it's not really one I'm particularly into, but there's like a whole thing surrounding that.
Okay, gotcha. So it's kind of like the same thing with the Royal Society or anything like that in the past, right? Where there was like some.
Yeah, they picked a guy and it was going forward, and they all got in line and backed him. It was like the modern day Newton, if that was a real person. Like Einstein.
Like, you know how
was
that dude got like 81 million votes or whatever? It's like exactly like that.
I mean, if you want to get into that topic, we can.
Nope.
Traded no
So can I ask
abnormalities.
Lucas a question?
Go for it, bro.
So, as a troll, have you ever seen a bridge actually being built, or you just always lived under one?
Good question. Yeah. Actually, I have seen a bridge being built in Florida.
Yeah. So during that process, were you involved in it, or did you ever talk to anyone that was involved in building that bridge?
No, because they were demanding a troll toll, and I was broke.
Nice.
Yeah, I could see why you would avoid that for sure. Smart move. Most trolls fall for the 2 goats tricks and then
Traded
get beat up
no
by the last bigger goat. But so here's the thing about this: is there's simple things that we can know today. Like to kind of answer your question. If you've ever built anything or been on, I've done some heavy civil carpentry in my life, and we built a canal. It was a concrete canal ended up being about 27 miles and in Utah. And nowhere did we ever have to account for curvature of Earth. So when you come across things that are like, it basically comes down to common sense. And so, as far as all this history and stuff, it's really hard to know what is true. But it does seem that there is an agenda by the mainstream narrative for whatever reason. And it doesn't seem to have the best intentions. And when you start to, become aware of that, you're left to use your own discernment, like what I believe Shane had said. But it basically comes down to common sense and what you can know and what actually you experience in your life. I don't know if that answers your question at all, but.
No, it does. Absolutely. Yeah. So obviously it's easy to just like treat flat earthers as a punching bag. And that's usually what people on the globe side tend to do. Like, all
Is it
flat
though?
earthers are.
Honestly, in your experience, has it been easy for you to do that?
Well, when you actually engage on an even playing field, no. But when you're on YouTube and you're talking on your YouTube channel, yes.
Are certain servers easier than others, or what?
Yeah, definitely.
But I wanted to chime in a little bit. Is that okay?
Lily, absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
Welcome. In D3,
can I
I
just say
see
one thing first, though, in response to that? Because I do think that there's something important to bring up in relation to that. So it seems to me, and just from the experience I've had talking to people in this space, that, again, like the narrative is, oh, you guys are all idiots, you're living in your mom's basement, blah, blah, blah. Well, in actuality, it seems to me that the truth of the matter is that most of the people that I've talked to, like a significant percentage at least, work in fields where they do things like leveling, construction, sort of like technical trade fields. And I don't know if this is true for you guys, but it seems that that's sort of where a lot of the, I don't know if you want to call it skepticism of the globe comes from. But that's just kind of my response to you, Mister. I think that, like me, I've never personally measured the curvature, right?
Oh, nobody has, but that's cool.
Situation where I was able to do so.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say, is that no one has, but we've tried, and that's kind of the issue, is that we've gone out and tried, and it's not there, and that poses some problems when, it's not like it's a comfortable thing to just all of a sudden think that you're not on a globe when you've been told that since you were a child, and that's what everyone in the world thinks, like it was not an easy transition, but you get to a point where you can't deny well, I guess you could deny it, cognitive dissonance, and deny what you find, you know. But I would encourage you to go try and do some long distance measurements and find and see what you find, you know, because that'll be, no one's going to convince you here, you know. You have to find out for yourself, and only you can do that for you. I mean, I guess there's people out there that just want to watch YouTube videos, but like, you know, me personally, I don't do construction much anymore. I build things for fun, but not for work. At a time I did, you know. Luckily I don't have to live like that anymore. But yeah, so there is definitely a hands-on aspect of it for me. I don't know that that's the case for all of these people here, you know. I doubt that Liliana has, you know, done heavy civil carpentry. I would hope not. I would hope she wouldn't have to live that way, because it's a rough life. But yeah, so there's some very tangible tactical things that I've done that have shown me, oh shit, wow, that kind of does make sense now that I'm seeing it, or I think back to it, you know. 27 miles is a long way, and we had to grade the ground specifically, you know, to avoid any kind of, you know, we had a specific grade we had to meet, and at no point in time was it, you know, that's over land, so who knows. But I think of those things, and I think of tests that, like over the Great Salt Lake, you know, long distance mirror tests and things like that. You know, all that stuff's really simple to do yourself. So
Yes. Oh, so I don't want to cut off. I think Lilian wanted to say something. Do you want to go, and then I can maybe talk about that more? But
Sorry, what? I just want to quickly chime in. Speakership is. Can you hear me?
Yep.
No.
Hello?
I couldn't hear half of that. What happened?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, thank you. No, Mordawan, I was just gonna say, like, you know, when we were Globers, we were under the impression that everything they told us had solid, irrefutable proof. And it's only after I became a flat earther that I realized that I don't know, what is it, like 90%, 95%, or whatever the percentage might be of everything they tell us as bona fide facts are just basically like calculation by math. None of it is irrefutable. And you know, like telling us like what the mass, the weight of the sun would be, or the earth would be, is you can't just do that on math by math and think that that's all absolutely accurate. So I think that the globe science is always like represented itself as though it knows more than it really does. So that's one issue, you know. So I think that when Shane was saying we have to have discernment, it's really a matter of using common sense. And we never really questioned all that. Like how, you know, we didn't question, we just thought, oh, they know what they're doing, because we trusted their processes and honesty and stuff like that. But I think that, you know, about 100 years ago, when Flat Earth was taught alongside with Globe Earth in various schools, it wasn't yet suppressed so hard. I think there was so many scientists that wrote so many papers proving the stationary, you know, the stationariness of Earth, and also the lack of the curvature, and their work got completely suppressed. So I think that Alan and Shane and Stone and all these people, you know, they are good at finding a lot of these papers and researching and giving us information that was suppressed. But the other thing too, I think that as flat earthers, what I think we could be doing is we could make a list of all the holes in the globe theory, and then getting globers to come and somehow refute all the holes and see what they can come up with. And it's not enough to just cite this paper or that paper. Like they have to come up with actual, like irrefutable proof, not just some mathematics, you know, just some little calculations by math and expect us to believe it. So I think that, currently all the leaders in the flat earth movement, the ones that are genuine, basically, they'll just tell you things they're completely sure of and things that they have proof for, and based on actual physics that can be, experiments that can be replicated by most of us and whatnot. So I think that, asking us what the moon is made of or something like that, like we're not there yet. We don't really know all that. But knowing that the Earth is definitely has no curvature and knowing that it's stationary, I don't think that that's very hard for any one of us to prove, So I think that as a glober, you're giving way too much credit to the high priests of the heliocentric globe model in believing that every bit of information they're giving you is just, has a ton of evidence and it's irrefutable. So that's what I feel.
Sorry, you have your hand up, D. I could respond to that, but I want to let you speak as well.
My hand's not up on my screen.
Oh yeah, sometimes there's visual bugs.
Yep, gotta love Twitter. But yeah, no, I that's all fair. I think that we would do better to probably have informed debates, and I'm an advocate for like in-person, like informal debate formats. I think would be really cool, and having like a panel. Like what I think would be really cool would be to have, whether it's at like, I don't know if the Flat Earth conferences happen anymore or whatever, but get like someone from the globe side, not someone like Professor Dave, but someone that will have like a reasonable debate, and get someone from the Flat Earth side, someone like, Shane, Alan, Austin, whoever, like, and have a formal debate, and then have a panel of like, a mix of people that could actually judge the debate. I think that would be really fun.
Well, as a glober, can you tell me like what convinces you that we're spinning on an axis and going around the sun and all of that? And we, yeah, because each of those points, when people say, oh, day and night, or, the seasons, all that can be explained on flat Earth. So it's not, it's not unique to globe theory.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree, but honestly, to be perfectly honest, if you had asked me that question, gosh, what is it? It's now August. I started getting into this. I'm a noob, so I got into this in June, somewhere around like June 16th. So almost 2 months now, but I wouldn't know anything about the science of the shape of the Earth beyond like Eratosthenes and trusting NASA for images from space. At the moment, I think the strongest evidence that I have is, and obviously I think Shane and Alan would have good counterpoints to this, is the navigation side of things and the observations of the celestial bodies. That's so just to quickly say that, and I get what you're saying about over reliance on what you call priests. I certainly think that there's a crisis in science at the moment and an over reliance on expert opinions, and it has. We wasted 20 years on string theory for what? We didn't get anything. A lot of smart people wasted a lot of time for a completely fucking useless theory. So the critique is not wrong. I just think that for me, the more I learn about it, the more I find my sort of personal evidence, if that makes sense.
Shane, you want to tell them about how celestial observation is not unique to globe theory?
Nah,
Yeah,
he knows it very well.
Yeah, I know. I do.
That's why he's like, let me preface it with, this can be countered easily, but because most people believe it, I'm going to say it. I think is what he was thinking.
No, but it's all right.
Well, what you said is, yeah, it is what most people believe, and honestly, it's what I think holds most people to the globe conception still. And as I like to say in the meme, all globe evidence is just people misunderstanding the sky. So,
all right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what comes out of it, right? I mean,
yeah, maybe.
I'm a pragmatic guy, so
maybe one of these times you'll have like a refuted counter or some substantive specificity for us.
I mean, we could talk about Schuler tuning and drift and mechanical gyroscopes. That would be fun.
Dude, no way. Somebody just left a Schuler tuning comment on my YouTube video. Is that you? Are you a Schuler tuner?
It'd be a mighty big quinkadink.
I've never heard of that. And
Is
I
it?
literally just read it. I was like, what? Are you trying to Schuler me, brother?
Your space audits, right? I don't remember if I left that on your comment.
That's crazy.
I've been talking about it. I've been talking about it a lot, so it's possible that.
Are you Rich Spillman?
No, that's
I have no
another
idea
guy.
who that is.
This dude has influenced other Globers. We have on our hands here a Glober influencer, guys.
What's that?
Man.
Yeah, because that dude just steel-manned his position. So,
Which video is it on? If you don't mind me asking.
It's on the. I just uploaded a video titled "Indio explains the age-old question: Why doth thou deflect thine vertical?" And the guy posted and said, "Did his equipment have Schuler tuning, like an altitude indicator, like an attitude indicator?" What the fuck? What is that?
We'll look into it.
No.
We could talk about it.
well, how would that negate the device reading? Never mind, doesn't matter. I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't either. I was like, whatever. Schuler who?
Schuler who?
Let's see. What's Schuler tuning?
Dude, it's like, you know what? This is the evidence the globe has been hiding for like 4 years under the noses, or under our very noses. Like, it's been here. We haven't been allowed to see it, but now it's going to come out and it's going to floor us. Don't be Googling. I hear you Googling. You're not allowed to Google. Stop it.
I'm looking it up.
This is the evidence. No. It has to be blind. We have to.
I have to
So
find
Schuler
the
tuning
answer.
is
No, don't
a,
spoilers. Spoilers. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I've been talking about it a lot in Earth Awakening, so that's most.
So
if someone found out about it, it's from that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it sounds like you infected this dude's brain.
Yeah, you said what I said, but differently.
Schuler tuning. Google.com. Let's see here. Schuler tunes. Describes the conditions necessary for inertial navigation system to keep the inertial platform always pointing north, east, up, and down, etc. I never heard of this. That's what inertial occurs due to account for Earth curvature. Oh, no way. Are they aligning the z-axis to the north? Oh, this? Yeah,
Gyroscopic thing all over again.
Yeah, the ether wind follows a toroidal field, so we would have the same z-axis offset, dog. Easy peasy. You want me to show you the diagrams for it? 1 second.
Yeah, latitude dependent as is the sky, right? You call it axis of rotation. Whoops.
Yeah.
Nope, that's just the toroidal vortex moving laterally. It's wrong.
Yeah, if the
It's
ether
ether
winds
all the way down.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
I can absorb the correction angles 1 to 1. That's why I'm an ether cosmologist. Right.
I don't know. It's
No, that is a fantastic argument, right? That's an actually good argument, right? It's like we have this device, we have to offset it 45 degrees to get its maximum reading, and it's like, what's that 45 degree? Oh, is that the old axis of rotation of the Earth or the axis of rotation of the sky? Who's to say? But the globularists say it's with respect to the globe, right? And then the etherist would say, and then it's with respect to the sky, right? And then we could get into the difference in the measurements, et cetera, and all that. But that is an acceptable globe proof for the shape and contour. I approve.
Now,
thank you.
Now, Lucas, when you leave here, are you going to be like, guys, I was in this space, right? I made the best arguments. I destroyed them. They had nothing.
Yes.
Okay.
He's like, yes.
Exactly right. But only in text chat.
Nice.
Okay, fair enough. We'll just have to link the recording of this every time you speak. It's fine.
Yeah, let's see. Where's my... Yeah, because actually I did a debate with McToon, and that was his question. And it's a really good question. But yeah, if the ether wind is following vortex motion, then you're going to have the same offset angles. And I'll show you some diagrams and such of a model that facilitates such a correction angle.
All right, let's see it.
All right. Posting pictures now.
Sorry, I don't know. I don't know how to use Twitter Spaces. Where can I see what you're sharing?
So it's going to take a couple of minutes because, my Twitter, but I'm uploading the pictures now. Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay. All right, cool. I'll take a look.
Are we going to be open for a little bit longer, Alan? Do I have time to go walk the dog right now is what I'm thinking?
No, let's wrap up on this actually after I get this posted. And then actually you go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and shut it down. Walk the dog. I'll get this posted. And then we'll.
You said shut it down and walk the dog. Those are two different things.
So yeah, I'm gonna post it right like when this is done. So go ahead and like
Okay.
let's close out the space so you can walk your dog.
Okay.
There's no point in having you wait while I dig up pictures.
Walked right before this. We walked, so I don't know what he's thinking, but yeah.
Yeah.
This is gonna have to get clipped up though, because this has been one of our more productive discussions. I think with some of our more, intellectual globies. So this has been fun. Thanks to the community. Thanks everyone. We should have more of these.
Yeah, I'll join more. If you'll
dude,
have me.
Super cordial on the VoIP, dude.
So we just gotta pretend that your text presence doesn't exist, and then we can be friends, dude.
Sure.
I'm gonna unblock you on Discord. Hopefully, I don't regret it.
I don't troll people in their DMs. That's crossing the line, I think.
I respect that you have a line.
Dude, as long as you have a line, we can be friends. Any's better than none, right? We're dealing with people that have zero.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you know, Shane and Alan, your level of knowledge, you and Stone and, you know, the whole Witsit, all of you, your level of knowledge is so high that it's really an insult when Globers come and act like little toddler trolls, and they're not even addressing anything, any real issues where they could learn. And this was really beautiful because it was like being in class or something. Everybody was quiet. Everybody was listening to the back and forth. And even though that guy did keep repeating, that Australian guy kept repeating stuff or whatever. But yeah, we need more decent Globers coming who are intelligent and ask intelligent questions, you know, because this is what is productive.
It sucks the only two Globers sound exactly alike, so our buddy TM came in and yelled at him about being Ruhif for a couple of minutes, but that was funny. It was all right. He took it in stride. He was like, yep, I'm Ruhif. It was actually pretty funny.
You do understand, though, that like at a point, if someone's going to be looking into this information long enough and they have a certain level of intellect, I mean, I'm betting within the next 6 months, Lucas is a flat earther.
We'll see, bro. I'm a pragmatic guy, so I look at the evidence where it leads me.
I will take that bet, mister.
I don't know.
If you want to bet me $10,000, Shane?
No, I don't actually bet. I guess I should reword that. I would expect that intelligent people that actually do the research and use their own common sense and their own, you know, they go out and do their own experiments. I think that that's why we have a problem finding so many intelligent Globers to actually keep calm and have the conversations, you know, because most of the ones that just get angry don't even understand what it is we're trying to say, you know.
Yeah, also more than one, I think you're taking for granted that a lot of the globe evidence, quote unquote, that you know you think you have, it's not really evidence. I think you need to look into what you're assuming is infallible evidence before you believe that it's infallible evidence, because I think our team can show you that it's not evidence at all. So I think that that's something you're going to have to detach yourself from. I know it's difficult because, you know, I was a NASA fan and I was, you know, a Glober, and I just loved science. And I thought, oh yeah, these people are not lying. I trusted them, you know. So until I started seeing what Globers had to say, and then I realized, my God, none of this is actually irrefutable.
Did we lose Lily or did we lose me? Now we lost me. One second, Les.
would suggest that I'm, it's worse to, I don't know. Is it worse to troll and just troll all the time, or to troll some of the time?
No, it's worse to know that you're a human, and then it's 10 times worse to make me.
But he can't really troll us because we're on the same side. So he actually hopes to have Globers come and troll so that he can troll back. You would be an incredible troll, Shane. I'm telling you.
Well, I can tell you that
testing.
the wobble memes are triggering a lot of Globers, so that was successful.
Testing 1 2. Oh no way, dude! The wobble meme triggers me, and that's crazy. But I put some Ether Dynamics pictures up there to show the model that was made. It was actually made for us by Icon Science. That I can link you to the video where he premiered it if you want to see the model in action of him sliding it up and down to show the absorption of the angles. But yeah, he made it for us based on the, like a toroidal flow, and it absorbs the 45-degree angle relative to the lattice.
All right, let's see it. I'm excited.
It's in the Jumbotron. So if you click on, let's see, like the interface that, where you see our little avatars talking and stuff, if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see a thing that has Twitter posts on it. If you click the slide bar all the way to the left, you'll see the most recent post. And those are the 2 posts that I just made. And I'll post the video here in a second if you want to watch the video.
Sure thing, boss.
All right, cool.
Dude, I remember when that happened. That was like one of the first within like the first 10 videos that I had ever watched from you guys. And I was blown away by that he had put that together. Like, that was super cool.
Yeah, it was
beautiful.
It was one of the nicest things he ever did. Very great. We're very grateful.
Equator to be vertical. That means we need.
Am I the greatest gift giver to you, Shane, at this point, if I follow through?
I mean, dude, you're trying to cash in on that virtue a little early, my dude.
Yeah, true.
Like, you got that shit on layaway, bro.
I do. All right.
Mortimer, I think that a lot of Globers think that observation of the sky is unique to Globe. That is the hugest mistake.
All right, Shane, are you there walking your dog, or are you good to close out? So I've successfully posted all I can post. So the dog definitely kidnapped him, and the space is now concluded. But we'll just, I don't know. Good luck. I'm going to head off, guys. Peace.
Adieu.
Good night, guys. Love you guys.
See you guys tomorrow for Flat Earth Fridays. Let's see here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our episode 8 of the Community Chill Sesh on Twitter with the boys. Catch us tomorrow for Flat Earth Fridays, episode 107, dude. We're already 7 episodes deep in the new season of Flat Earth Friday, so make sure you tune into that tomorrow. And then Monday, we'll be back with Reading Night, boys. We haven't done Reading Night in a while. We missed that for Bennett's presentation on Monday. So we'll return back to Reading Night. And then Tuesday will be either a presentation or a chill session / revision on old material and just kind of go over new things that we may have learned since we presented it. So look forward to that on Tuesday. All right, peace.